Hello, this is your host, Adam Graham, from Pretty Much the Present. And in this video, we'll be bringing you a compilation of old-time radio detective podcasts from 2010. The podcasts are appearing, for the most part, unedited, except for some extraneous or repetitive elements that are being removed because this is a compilation. As I said, these are old, so any websites or offers mentioned may not be valid at the time you're listening unless you find them on our website currently. Now, with that said, here is a week of old-time radio detective podcast. Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. Got a question? Email me, box13@greatdetectives.net. Cast your vote for the show on Podcast Alley, podcastalley.greatdetectives.net, and you can always become a fan of the show on Facebook, facebook.greatdetectives.net. Well, a little while ago, I was trying to figure out the right order, because it's one of the shows we're eventually going to do, of The New Adventures of Michael Shayne, which is a syndicated series. And no log I could find gave a really satisfactory airing date order. So it's going to be a challenge of sorting things out once we get to it. It's a reminder whenever we're dealing with syndicated shows, any type of speculation on the first air date is a best guess at the moment. Because unlike a network show, they didn't all air the same time. Box 13 continued to be sold into syndication and to being aired on news stations all the way into the 1990s. And on one site, they used the New York Times to, or one of the major papers, to estimate the first airing of Box 13. Another site was able to find an earlier date by checking the Amarillo, Texas time. So I have to say, any dates we provide on syndicated series are guesswork and the best we have at the moment. But the best information I've got is that this show was airing 1947, 48, 49 was the first airing, and all dates are approximate. Now we got the disclosure out of the way, we'll get into the show. Before we do, I do want to remind you about the great offer we got available from Audible. Audible is fantastic in that you can get a free audiobook for trying out the service, and if you sign up for it, you get one audiobook per month, plus a complimentary audio subscription to your choice, Wall Street Journal or New York Times. Go to audiblepodcast.com/oldtimeradio to find out more about this great offer. Now let's get into today's episode of Box 13, which I've actually seen written out or numerically. It's 113.5. Let's take a listen and then we'll come back.
Box 13, with the star of Paramount Pictures, Alan Ladd as Dan Holliday.
Box 13, care of Star Times. 2 days ago, I saw your ad in the Star Times. I want you to do something for me. Find someone who I know is in this city. You see, I think the man I want you to help me locate will be killed unless I find him first. If you're free tomorrow evening, we can meet at the corner.
We can meet at the corner of Robertson and 35th at 8 o'clock. Carry a top coat and your hat in your hand. I'll speak to you. Anxiously, Dorothy Simmons. Sure, it sounded like 100 other letters I get through Box 13. But when the thing was over, I wished the mail carrier had taken a detour somewhere on his appointed rounds.
And now, back to Box 13 and Dan Holliday's newest adventure, 113.5.
Susie. Susie. Hey, Susie.
Huh? Oh, hello.
Hello. Susie, I've been here for an hour. My name is Holliday.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Holliday. I guess I was wool gathering.
Yes, I guess you were. Why are you staring so hard at that letter?
I'm studying it.
What?
Well, I'm reading a book.
So?
The book says you can tell character from handwriting.
Oh. And what do you get from that letter from Dorothy Simmons?
Nothing.
Yeah, it must be a great book you're reading.
Oh, I don't understand it at all, but it's fun.
I'll come back later when we can clear this up. But I've got a great idea, Susie.
What?
You forget about the book until I get back. Then I'll tell you all about Dorothy Simmons. At 8 o'clock, I arrived at Robertson and 35th. At 8:03, a young woman, maybe 25 or 6, spoke to me. And at 8:15, we were sitting across from each other in a booth at a coffee shop. She was good-looking, smartly dressed, and talked smoothly and well. But underneath that calm exterior, something was happening.
I know he's somewhere in this city, Mr. Holliday. I've got to find him before someone else does.
Maybe you'd better tell me who this is we've got to find.
My brother.
Oh? Well, how do you know he's here?
I've traced him this far.
Heard from him at all?
No. He's running away from something. Or someone.
How do you know that?
Well, the last time I saw him, 3 months ago, he was frightened. He wouldn't tell me what was wrong. And then he disappeared.
Your letter said he might be killed.
He said that.
Well, any reason for saying it?
No. At least none that he told me.
Look, Miss Simmons, the city has a perfectly good missing persons bureau. An efficient setup to help people in your spot. Why not go to the police?
I can't.
All right, you can't. Reason?
I don't know what my brother's done.
Oh, I see.
I'm not sure he's done anything wrong, but... Well, he might have,
And if we find him?
What do you mean?
Well, if he's been a bad boy, it'll be out of my hands.
You'd turn him over to the police?
Well, of course.
You won't help me except under that condition.
Well, that's about it.
All right. I agree.
Fair enough. Now, where do we start looking?
I don't know.
Well, what's his name?
Dave. Dave Simmons.
Have you got a picture of him?
No.
Oh, that's great.
I can describe him.
Oh, go ahead.
He's about 5'7". He has
Dorothy
dark
described
hair
her brother to me, and as she talked, a man who had been sitting a couple of booths away got up and came near us. At first, I didn't pay any attention to him. Then it struck me as funny that he should be taking such a long time tying a shoelace. Wait a minute.
What's the matter?
Hold it. Having trouble?
Huh? Talking to me?
Yeah, I think so.
I got a knot in the lace.
Convenient place to get it.
Huh?
Oh, nothing. Are you finished now?
What's the idea? They can't stop to tie my shoelace?
I've no objections.
And what's the beef?
None, I guess.
What are you? Wise guy?
Sorry.
Yeah. Wise guy, that's what.
Was he listening?
If he'd have had his ear any closer, it would have been on my coffee. Did you ever see him before?
No. No, I'm sure I haven't.
Come on, let's get out of here.
Look. He's looking in the window.
Maybe he just likes us.
He must have heard me describe my brother.
Yeah, he couldn't miss. Okay, come on.
He's gone.
Uh-huh. You sure you've never seen him before?
Oh, I'm positive.
Well, must have been following you.
Following me?
Couldn't have been me because there was no reason for him to tail me.
But why should he be after me?
I don't know. Yet. Where are you staying?
Oh, the Wilmington Hotel.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cab! Hey, cab!
What are you going to do?
Put you in a cab and see that you're not followed.
Oh, but what about you?
Mr. Shoelace doesn't know it, but he gave us a lead. All right, get in.
When will I hear from you?
I'll get in touch.
Oh, no. I'll get in touch with you.
But why shouldn't I call you?
Please don't. Just let me call you tomorrow.
Okay. Here's my card.
Thank you.
It's all right. Wilmington Hotel, driver. I waited for a cab to follow the one Dorothy had taken. None did. Mr. Shoelace had dropped out of sight, at least until the next day. It was about 11 in the morning at my apartment when... Come in. Well, hello.
Hello.
I see you're wearing knotless shoelaces this morning.
Yeah. Mind if I sit down?
No, go right ahead.
Thanks.
I'll admit this is pleasant, but it can lose its charm. This visit, I mean.
Maybe you'd like me to get right to the point, Holiday.
There's merit in that suggestion.
Uh-huh. You wonder how I found you?
No, you tailed me last night.
Uh-huh.
Good job, I didn't see you.
No, nobody does unless I want them to.
Oh? Now, about the point you mentioned. Is it still lying around?
Holiday, I'll go 50-50 with you.
Well, that's generous of you. 50-50 on what?
20 grand. Now, look, we both beat our brains out if we work alone. If we work together, we got a better chance.
That sounds reasonable. But if I knew what you were talking about, we could make more sense.
She didn't tell you?
Tell me what?
What are you trying to do, play coy with me?
No, not at all. What should Dorothy Simmons have told me?
Who?
Dorothy Simmons. What a funny man I am.
Yeah, ain't you?
What's the big laugh?
She said that was her name.
That's right.
Suppose I told you she was lying.
All right. Suppose you tell me.
No, I think you're on the level with this.
All right, let's stop the funny business.
Nothing doing, Holiday. What you don't know won't hurt you.
And what about something I do know?
In that case, look me up here. Here's my card. I might come in handy.
Well, he left me sitting there holding his card. On it I read, R. Dakin, private investigator. The whole thing was beginning to look like a bride's first cake when... Hello?
Mr. Holliday?
Yes?
This is Dorothy Simmons.
Oh? Are you sure?
What did you say?
That name, Dorothy Simmons. You sure it's yours? Hello? Hello?
May I see you?
Well, I'd love it. Oh, I had a visitor.
Visitor? Who?
Our friend last night. Seems his name is Dakin, a private investigator.
Private investigator?
Yeah, that's right. Now, does he mean anything to you?
Can't we talk about it? I mean, not over the phone.
Okay, I'll come to the hotel.
No, I don't want anyone to know I'm here besides you. That man might follow you.
Oh. All right, you name the place.
Well, there's a drugstore down the street from the hotel. I'll meet you in there in half an hour.
Better make it an hour.
All right, an hour. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Whatever was going on, it was going in a circle with me riding the edge. But it looked interesting. A girl who said her name was Dorothy Simmons. A man who said her name wasn't Dorothy Simmons. A missing brother and a 50-50 cut in something that would bring $20,000. Yeah, it had possibilities. But before I went to meet Miss Simmons, I found out about Dakin from Lieutenant Kling. Dakin was a shady operator. He'd come within an ace of having his license taken away from him on more than one occasion. But he'd always managed to slip the noose and stay in business. Okay, this looked good. So an hour later, I was with Dorothy Simmons in the drugstore.
I don't know him. I've never even heard the name Dakin before.
All right. How about your own name?
It isn't Dorothy Simmons.
Oh, what is it?
I can't tell you now. Please don't ask me why. When we find my brother, I'll tell you everything.
Meanwhile, I've got a ticket on a merry-go-round, and I get dizzy easily.
You said you'd help me.
Mm-hmm. But I can't fight a mist or hunt for someone in a city that's...
Dakin must know something about my brother, or he wouldn't have followed me. He must have thought I'd lead him to Dave.
Yeah, you've got something.
Please find out from Dakin what he knows.
I don't think Mr. Dakin is the type that dishes out information just like that.
Make him tell.
How? Use thumb screws or the Iron Maiden?
I've got to know why he's after my brother.
I'd like to know that myself. And why you won't tell me your real name. Oh, there are a lot of things I'd like to know.
Let's go to see Dakin. And if he tells us anything, I'll tell you anything you want to know.
All right. That's a deal. Come on. Looks like Mr. Dakin's not receiving.
Try the door.
It's open. Mr. Dakin isn't very private, is he? Dakin? Dakin?
Why are the shades drawn?
Mr. Dakin likes it dark, I guess. And...
What's the matter?
I think Mr. Dakin is all through investigating anything. Be quiet.
Dead. He's dead.
Yeah, he's shot.
Who killed him?
How do I know? Hand me that phone.
What are you going to do?
Phone the police?
No, you can't do that.
Look, Dakin's been murdered. I'll do a lot of things for adventure and excitement. But hiding a murder's not one of them.
My brother, suppose he...
I told you twice. If your brother...
Please don't call the police. Not yet, please.
I said hand me the phone. Come on, look out. Get out of the way.
All right. Here.
Well, that's better.
Operator.
Operator, get me the police. I want to report...
Operator, never mind. The call was a mistake.
And now, back to Box 13 and Dan Holliday's latest adventure, 113.5.
Whatever Dorothy Simmons used to hit me, it was a lot harder than my head, and something had to give way. So I did. When I opened my eyes, Lieutenant Kling was bending over me.
Well, it's nice to know you're still with us.
Yes, I wake up to the strangest things.
Uh-huh.
Hey, why are you here?
The operator reported a call from here. 2 minutes later, another tenant passed here and saw this lovely tableau. You always lie down and go to sleep with murdered men.
Always? Oh, what did she hit me with?
This great, big, nice, heavy paperweight. And who's she?
Dorothy Simmons.
I still ask, who's she?
Well, I told Kling the whole story, beginning to end. And when I'd finished, I realized how silly it sounded. He looked at me and...
Your name should be Alice.
This is no Wonderland, and... Did your boys turn this place upside down?
No. Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Check on Dorothy Simmons at the Wilmington Hotel. You heard her description. Now, Holliday. She hit you and ransacked this room, looking for something. What?
You know as much as I do.
That gives me a whole lot to go on.
As much as I had.
Oh.
Brilliant. Brilliant observation.
Yeah, and you're in a good spot to notice it, I don't think. Look, why don't you go to Tibet?
Can I go now? Home, Tibet?
Oh. Yeah, get.
Thanks. And when you find out about Dorothy Simmons, give me a ring, will you?
Yeah, sure. Now beat it.
I left the room and walked downstairs into the street. My head was still buzzing like a party line in a crowded neighborhood, but it was clear enough to let me see a big limousine that was parked just across and down the street from Dakin's office building. It hadn't been standing there when Dorothy and I went in to see Dakin. Besides, a face looked out at me from the rear window. Then the face vanished, the car drove away. Well, this was getting better. A limousine, complete with chauffeur. I caught the license number, jotted it down in my head in between a couple of aches, and went back home. Later at my office, I had Susie check on that license number.
I've got it for you, Mr. Holliday. The car belongs to a Mr. Josiah Kettering.
Huh? Are you sure?
Sure. Why?
Oh, I don't get it. Kettering's one of the richest men in the state. A recluse. Now, what connection does he have with Dorothy Simmons? Dakin and...
Hello?
Susie, is Dan there?
Oh, sure. It's Lieutenant Kling, Mr. Holliday.
Yeah, hello?
Your head still on?
Barely. Why?
Then get this through it. There's no Miss Dorothy Simmons registered at the Wilmington.
Well, I told you that it might not be her real name.
Look, I'm not finished. Nobody of that description is registered there. And before you ask me if I checked all the way through, the answer is yes. Your dream girl simply doesn't live there anymore. Or ever. Holiday, are you there?
I'm not much of any place right now.
Better stay where we can put a finger on you.
Mind if I go out on an errand meanwhile?
Where?
Have one of your boys follow me. Maybe I'll need a little company. So long.
Hey, there's no...
I can go on an errand for you, Mr. Holliday.
Oh, not this one, Susie. I'm going to see what Mr. Josiah Kettering has to offer.
Yes, sir?
Is Mr. Kettering in?
Do you have an appointment, sir?
Yes, tell him I've come from Mr. Dakin.
If you'll wait in the foyer, sir, I'll give Mr. Kettering your message, sir.
The butler disappeared down the hall, went into a room, and a few seconds later...
This way, if you please, sir.
Oh, thank you.
That will be all, Carl.
Very good, sir.
And close the door. Well, you sit down.
Thank you.
You said something about a Mr. Dakin.
Yes, you know him.
What do you want?
Well, did you know Dakin was murdered?
Mr. Dakin was the type of person who invariably ends up that way. Some people do, you know.
And some people do the killing.
That achieves a nice balance. But that's neither here nor there. What have you come to tell me?
Nothing.
What are you looking at?
Books. Quite a collection you've got in here.
Yes. Do you know books? Rare ones?
I don't have the money necessary to enjoy them as much as you do.
Meaning what, sir?
Nothing.
You said you came from Mr. Dakin. Have you anything to tell me?
I didn't answer the old man who sat there leaning forward, watching me like a bright but aged robin. I could swear he thought I had something. Something he wanted. I decided to play along, stall for what I could learn. His hands, yellow and thin, trembled, and then...
Well, answer me, man, answer me. Have you got it? Did you get it back?
No.
Don't, idiot, you incompetent fools. I paid you to get it back. I paid you. Now I want it. Bring it back to me, do you hear? Bring it back.
Well, I don't know where it is.
Then why did you come here?
Because Dakin was killed.
I don't care about Dakin or anything else, but my book is gone, stolen. Look, I kept its place open. Bring it back to me, please. Get it back to me.
The old man walked to a bookcase. He ran his hands over the row of volumes. Then his fingers stopped at a vacant spot.
What do you
Turned
want?
back to me.
More money? I'll give it to you in cash.
Now, just a minute. Maybe you had better tell me the name of the book again.
You know. Dakin knew. Dante First Folio. Now, please get it back
Well, why
for me.
don't you go to the police?
Police? Why did you say that? You're not one of Dakin's men. You're not, are you?
No.
You're all against me. Everyone's against me. Everyone wants my collection. Get out, get out, get out!
Who stole that book from you?
They stole it from me. They knew I couldn't go to the police. They knew. But I fooled them, didn't I? I hired Dakin and... But you're not Dakin. You're the police. You won't let me have it back. You won't let me have it back. I tell you. I want that book back.
Better take care of him, Carl.
No.
Quiet, sir. He'll be all right, sir.
What do you know about this, Carl?
Nothing, sir.
Who stole that book from Mr. Kettering?
There was no book stolen, sir.
There was. A book Kettering couldn't let the police know about because it was in his possession illegally. Is that right?
Sir, these books are all he has.
Yes, I know. And how many of them are stolen from other collections?
Just the Dante First Folios.
Mm-hmm. The only one he couldn't go to the police about, so you hired Dakin to trace it.
Please, sir. This won't mean prison for him, will it? It mustn't, sir.
I don't know. Now, look, Carl. Who stole it?
Well, there was a couple here. Mr. Kettering's secretary.
Girl?
Yes, sir.
What did she look like?
Well, she was about 25 or 6, rather pretty. Knew a great deal about books, sir. Mr. Kettering had placed an ad for someone to do cataloging. She answered.
And she saw the Dante First Folio.
She must have at one time or another. Mr. Kettering kept his room locked, but of course...
That's enough. You said a couple. Was the other one a man?
Yes, a chauffeur. He and the girl were friendly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you'd better take care of Mr. Kettering.
You won't go to the police, sir. It would kill him.
I can't answer that. Just take care of him. I've got something else to do. Sure, Kling, it adds up. The girl and the chauffeur got away with the folio.
The girl being this, Dorothy Simmons.
Simmons, Smith, Brown. What's in the name? She and the chauffeur stole the folio. The girl knew Kettering wouldn't dare go to the police.
And why did she go to you?
Now, here's my guess. The chauffeur double-crossed her, ran out with the folio. She couldn't go to a reputable private detective agency, and she didn't want the chauffeur to get sight of her.
So she picked you for the patsy, to find the guy. The guy she said was her brother.
And it's got to be it.
Okay, I'll buy it. But what about Dakin?
Either she or the chauffeur killed Dakin. The chauffeur because Dakin was on to him, or the girl because she didn't want to be trailed.
That makes sense. And Dakin was going to cross up the whole thing. Grab the folio for himself because he knew nobody could go to the police.
A nice merry-go-round with a double cross for a brass ring. And no free rides.
Okay, that's the setup. But where does it leave us?
Find the girl or the chauffeur.
Okay. But something tells me that's going to be tough.
And it was. For 5 days, the police dragged the city. It was dead end until Kling came to my office and...
Man answering the chauffeur's description was picked up about 200 miles from here in a cheap rooming house. He made a run for it, used his gun.
And?
He was killed.
And the folio?
He didn't have it. And he didn't sell it either.
Well, how do you figure that?
If he had, we'd have heard about it. And even if we hadn't, the guy wouldn't have been holed up in a joint like that. He'd have had dough.
Yeah, so where's the folio?
The girl?
Uh-uh. The chauffeur must have hidden it.
You got any ideas?
No. What was found on him?
Just this. Slip of paper.
What's this?
You can read. It says 113.5.
113.5. This all there was on him?
That's all.
What's it mean?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Cling, some place in this city is a folio worth $20,000. 2 men have been killed because of it.
Yeah. And all we've got is 113.5. Just those numbers.
Code?
That could be. It's beyond me.
Mm-hmm. Anyway...
Oh, hello, Mr. Holliday. Hello, Lieutenant Kling.
Hi, Susie.
Oh.
Gee, you're both looking sad.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Holliday, remember what I told you I was reading about handwriting?
Please, Susie,
well...
not now, please.
Oh. What's that note?
113.5.
Huh?
Susie.
What's the matter?
What have you got there?
Books on handwriting.
Cling, look at those books. Look at them.
Huh? What's eating you? What about them?
Look at them. Just look at them, Cling. Cling, I know where that folio is. I was sure I was right, but I wanted to go it alone. Kling wanted both the folio and the girl, so I had to be alone just in case. And my destination? The public library. What better place to hide a book than there? I climbed the iron stairs to the stacks that towered over the main reading room. I read the index numbers on them. 111, 112, 113, decimal point. I reached out my hand for a little volume that stood between books that probably hadn't been taken out since the library was built.
Thank you, Mr. Holliday.
Oh, Miss Simmons, I believe.
I hoped you'd lead me to it. May I have it?
Good hiding place, isn't it? Way up here in the stacks, hidden between books that nobody had asked for. But let's talk about you, Miss Simmons. You've changed. Hair a different color, dressed shabbily, dark glasses. No wonder you couldn't be found.
I'll take that folio, please.
I guess you would. After all, you killed Dakin to keep him from finding the chauffeur.
That's right. And I'll kill again. I'll kill again and again to get something that will mean the end of watching other people enjoy life. Hand it to me.
Miss Simmons, if you shoot, wouldn't the shot be heard? Wouldn't you have to explain?
Give it to me.
You have great patience. You followed me probably every day. Now, a little more patience won't hurt.
Stay away. Don't come any closer.
You want this, don't you?
Give it to me.
All right. But you will have to get it.
Don't drop it over. If you do, I'll kill you.
That wouldn't do any good, Miss Simmons. If I drop it over this rail, it'll drop 3 stories into the reading room below. Now, still want to shoot?
Please. Please, give it to me.
Put down that gun.
No.
Then shoot. But when you do, this book drops. There are about 50 people down there. Which one of them would you like to pick up $20,000? Take a look, Miss Simmons.
Let go of me! Let go!
Come on, Miss Simmons. And you'd better walk ahead of me. Somehow I wouldn't want you at my back on those steep, narrow stairs.
Weren't you afraid she would shoot, Mr. Holliday?
Oh, yes, Susie. But she knew if she did, I'd drop the book. And that gave me time to grab her.
Gee. And to think you discovered where the folio was because I brought library books here to the office.
Mm-hmm. See what reading will do for you, Susie?
Uh-huh. But I've given up those books on handwriting, Mr. Holliday.
Oh? Why?
Because I analyzed one sample of handwriting, and it said the person was loyal, kind, unselfish, generous.
And who is this paragon of virtue?
Miss Simmons.
Oh, good night, Susie.
Next week, same time, through the courtesy of Paramount Pictures, Alan Ladd stars as Dan Holliday in Box 13. Box 13 is directed by Richard Sandville. This week's original story was written by Arthur Bowie. Original music is composed and conducted by Rudy Schrager. The part of Susie is played by Sylvia Picker, and that of Lieutenant Kling by Edmund MacDonald. Vern Karstensen is in charge of production. Box 13 is a Mayfair production from Hollywood. Watch for Alan Ladd in his latest Paramount picture.
Welcome back. What a fun mystery, and I thought very intelligent. Compare in this story Lieutenant Kling and Inspector Ellman. Lieutenant Kling believes Holiday, but if it was Inspector Hellman, Dan Holiday would be facing a murder rap because obviously he killed the guy and then knocked himself out. So you appreciate Lieutenant Kling here. I also love that scene in the end, the last confrontation with the gun. And that tends to be something that doesn't get done in fiction a lot, but it makes a lot of sense. The fact is that a lot of times when people will pull a gun on somebody, and I'm talking the fictional sense, if they actually pull the trigger, they're going to get caught and they're not going to get what they want. So the power of their threat is somewhat limited. On the other hand, if you're looking down the barrel of a gun, it may not be in your best interest to take a bet that the person's a rational thinker. But I found it interesting. I thought it worked pretty well in this case. All right, we have one comment on Podcast Alley, and it's a simple love, love, love it. Thank you. Before we do get started, I do want to remind you about the special offer we have for our listeners through Audible. With Audible, you can try it out for a 2-week risk-free trial, get a free audiobook or old-time radio compilation. And they have several available, including The Shadow Night of Darkness. But you can read a wide variety of both new and classic books. Try out Audible, audiblepodcast.com/oldtimeradio. That's audiblepodcast.com/oldtimeradio. Well, let's go ahead. We're going to get into today's episode of Jeff Regan, the man with the key.
My name's Jeff Regan. I get 10 a day in expenses from a detective bureau run by a guy named Anthony J. Lyon. They call me the Lion's Eye.
With Jack Webb as Jeff Regan investigator, stand by for hard-boiled action and mystery and thrilling adventure in tonight's story of The Man with the Key.
A block above Wilton on Hollywood Boulevard, there's a street they call Taft. It isn't very long. About 48 palm trees and a couple of bad sewers. It figures that the guy who laid it was nearsighted. He didn't see the hills 3 blocks away. Got kind of a tired look, like an old lady who's been moving furniture. There's a dirty gray apartment house on the right-hand side of the street. That's my place. 308. A low ceiling and a leaky faucet. A telephone that rings at the wrong time. It was last Monday night, about 11 o'clock. I was in bed listening to the party next door when it rang. It was the Lion.
Regan, get your clothes on.
That the way you sleep?
You're going to be busy. We got a new client.
Well, tell me all about it in the morning.
Special messenger came to my place 15 minutes ago with a C-note.
Any good?
It was from somebody named Dora King.
Well, who's that?
That's what you're going to find out.
I can see better in the daytime.
She's waiting for you right now.
Oh, yeah.
At a place on La Brea called the Southerner.
Should I take my banjo?
Don't be funny. She wants to talk to you, so get over there.
Well, what does she want to talk about?
How would I know?
Well, don't you ever check into things?
That's what I pay you for.
All right, where's last week's salary?
You'll get it.
When?
As soon as I find out if your expenses were legit. Now get busy.
That all?
No, call me right after you've seen her.
Why?
I want to know what's what.
You mean you want to know if she can afford more than a C-note?
You're getting out of line.
That's what they told Gypsy Rose Lee. Well, I got over there about 11:30. Turned out to be a small place, long on the shadows and short on the whiskey. There was a bald-headed guy playing a piano in one corner. I guess he'd been inside for a long time, because he'd never been out for a music lesson. The bartender was the only other guy in the joint. His name couldn't have been Dora King. So I went to work on a straight shot and waited. 2 drinks later, a girl in a black dress walked in. She took in the piano player and the bartender and me. I won. She started toward me with a slow, easy kind of a walk like a panther looking for breakfast. When she oozed onto the stool beside me, the bartender got damp all over. The air conditioning wasn't doing him any good.
What'll it be, miss?
Make it the same as his.
Okay, bourbon and water.
Got a match?
Yeah?
Got a cigarette?
Mm-hmm.
Got a name?
Maybe.
I'll bet it's Regan.
All right, you got that much.
My name's Dora King. I'm sorry I'm late.
You ever on time when you meet a guy?
No.
Your money, you can spend it any way you want.
You always this nice to customers?
I don't get paid to be nice.
What do you get paid for?
Have you got a story?
I haven't had my drink yet.
Hey, you!
Coming up. I'm jet propelled. Here you are, miss. Hey, hot night, ain't it?
You waiting for the weather to change?
It ain't gonna change in here, brother.
What's your first name?
Jeff.
I don't like it.
Neither do I.
I'm going to call you Regan.
All right, let's start calling.
Have you got a license?
Covers up a hole in my wall.
Have you got something that says you're what you say you are?
All right. Here.
The lion's eye. 6 feet, 170. Brown eyes. You fit?
Yeah, I got a mole on my left shoulder.
Let me feel. You pass.
Okay, you won the toss. Let's kick off.
Well, this isn't where we play. We'll go in my car.
Where?
You'll find out when you get there.
Maybe I won't like the field.
You trust me, don't you?
No.
Good.
Fill her up again?
We're just leaving.
Floor show starts in a couple of minutes.
That piano player going to be in it?
Yeah, he's my brother. He's going to play something he wrote himself.
Any good?
Stinks. Maybe you better go.
Well, the bartender was pouring himself 4 fingers of rye and about a fingernail of water when we walked out of there. We climbed into a big Nash convertible, parked in front of the place, and headed for Santa Monica Boulevard. Then we turned east, past Western, down to Vermont, and south to Marathon. All at once, we were climbing a hill on a dark street. That gave us a view of the city. 20 years ago, a real estate broker might have had something, but now it was just an old neighborhood with a sad look, like a toe dancer with a short leg. Nobody said anything. I was beginning to have a feeling that maybe she'd forgot her compass when she slowed the car down. She pointed to a 2-story house in the middle of the block, and I nodded. Then she shoved the car in second and spun around the corner and came to a stop. I got out and walked around to let her out. She didn't move.
End of the line.
Short fare.
Time for you to go to work.
What kind of work?
The white place back there, 3936. You saw it?
It came through.
It's a boarding house.
I already got a room.
On the 2nd floor, number 10. Knocked twice.
Prohibition's dead, lady.
There's a man there. His name's Bender. Ben Bender.
That'll wake him up.
He's expecting you.
You're quitting?
My job's finished. You're the new help.
Well, what do I do?
He'll tell you.
That all?
One thing more. Come here.
Yeah. Part of my fee?
That's extra.
I don't generally get tipped.
Just for luck.
You act like I'm going to need lots of it.
You are.
When do I see you again?
You don't. Goodbye, gorgeous.
I stood there and watched her drive away. And then I noticed it. Somebody in a black coupe coasted around the corner, kicked into high gear at the bottom of the hill. I kept watching, but whoever it was hadn't read the traffic laws lately. He didn't use his lights for 2 blocks. Oh, it registered. He was on a tail job, and Dora was nice to tail. 3936 Marathon. Inside, it smelled like stale beer and rotting wood. Room number 10 was at the top of the stairs. The door was already open. A thin guy with a hungry look was sitting on the edge of the bed. He was all bones. He didn't get up when I came in. He just kind of looked at me, and his eyes were full of water. All of a sudden, he pulled a bandana out of his pocket and began coughing. You're sitting in a draft.
All my life. You Regan?
A girl with warm lips said I'd find you here.
Thanks for coming. Sit down. Hey, just got back from a trip.
Up north?
Yeah.
Sanitarium?
State said I needed a cure.
Did it take?
What do you think?
You're still coughing.
The doctor said I could go. You can give me a going-away present. $10 and a suit of clothes. It's a bum rap.
That's what they all say.
Who I am?
Ben Bender.
Big Ben Bender. Does that mean anything to you, Pilgrim?
Must have been before my time.
Yeah? How old do you think I am?
I'm out of practice.
I look 60. And I'm 45. That's what 7 years in the sanitarium will do.
You ought to get a specialist.
Already got one.
What's his name?
You.
No, I'm only an intern.
You'll do.
All right, what do you want?
When the guy goes up there, he makes a lot of friends. And a lot of enemies. Sometimes you can't tell one from the other.
Does it make any difference?
Big Ben don't trust nobody.
No, what about that girl?
Dora? Forget her. Her job's done.
That's what she said.
See this key?
Yeah?
I wear it around my neck. I worn it for 7 years. You'll wear it for the next 7 hours.
Why?
Them friends and enemies I was telling you about.
What does the key fit?
My safety deposit box at the American Security Bank. You meet me there. Tomorrow, at 10.
What if I oversleep?
Stay up all night. I'll pay for the no-dose. Just be there.
After that?
And your job's finished. It's off this door you ever made.
Look, now, you kept this key 7 years. Why can't you keep it for 7 more hours?
My business.
What's in the box?
My business.
Okay. Any of those friends or enemies drive a black coupe, white sidewalls?
I don't know. Why?
My business. I left him sitting there. He looked as happy as a sword swallower with the hiccups. Well, I put the key in my coat pocket, but it felt hot, like a dynamite stick with a short fuse. If Big Ben had been holding it for so long, somebody else might want it. Maybe somebody who drove that black coupe. Well, I went out the back entrance, walked down an alley, and doubled over 5 blocks to Vermont. I stopped a cab, and I had him take me over to the Lyons place. It was 2:30 in the morning when he opened the front door. He was wrapped in a bathrobe big enough to keep all the silkworms working overtime.
What do you want, Regan?
Information.
You been drinking?
I've been working.
What kind of work?
Well, I got a key.
That all?
That's what they say.
Who's they?
A con named Bender.
Ben Bender?
That's right.
I thought he was doing a long run up in Quentin.
Well, he's out now.
Where does Dora King fit?
Taxi service. She took me to Bender. He gave me the key.
Let me see it.
All right, here.
Safety deposit box.
That's right. Nursemaid to a hunk of metal until tomorrow at 10.
What then?
Well, I meet him at the American Security Bank and turn it over to him.
Well, do it.
Now, look, Big Shot, this key's hot.
What makes it hot?
Whatever's in that box.
What's that?
How should I know?
Find out. You got the key.
You got the client.
Now, just a minute.
Somebody waves a green back at you and you think it's a rainbow.
That's enough.
Oh, stop it, will you? It's another bum client and you know it.
Let me worry about that.
If Ben held that key for 7 years and won't hold it now, he's scared.
What's he got to be scared of?
Somebody else who wants in on the
So
play.
what?
I'm holding the key. That makes me the clay pigeon.
You're getting paid for it. Just be there tomorrow at 10. Alive.
Well, I left the Lion and went out to the street. Nobody was there. I hailed a cab, and he let me off in front of my place. Nobody was there. I opened the front door of my apartment. Nobody was there. It began to feel like a good bet for the Lonely Hearts Club. It was a good feeling. I sat up all that night waiting. Nothing happened. I felt about as popular as a bald-headed chorus girl. Nobody made a play. It was 5 minutes to 10 when I pulled into the parking lot next to the American Security Bank. The car next to me was a black coupe with white sidewalls. It could have been the same one that tailed us the night before. But then I figured there's a lot of cars in L.A. like that. But I leaned in and I looked at the registration. This one belonged to a guy named Al Spandy, who lived in Van Nuys. I wrote the address down and walked into the bank. The guard in a blue uniform waved me downstairs to the safety deposit boxes. It was 10, and still nothing happened. I began to feel kind of relieved, like a flagpole sitter when the wind died down. Big Ben hadn't showed yet. The only one there was a blonde sitting in a glass cage in front of the vaults. She looked at me, and I began to wonder what she did on her days off.
Good morning. May I help you?
Yeah, I want to see if the rent on my box has been paid. Here's the key.
60B. Just a minute, I'll take a look. 60B. 60B's all paid for.
Well, I guess my partner must have taken care of it.
This isn't a joint box. You're the only one who can get into it, Mr. Bender. Would you like to go in now?
No, I'm waiting for somebody.
We're all waiting for somebody.
I'm waiting for a man.
So am I.
Been waiting long?
Years.
Here?
Yes.
Better places to wait.
The ones with money keep coming here. My name's Claire.
I'll remember that.
Will you remember this? Granite 3408.
I'll try it on my phone.
When?
As soon as I get a spare nickel.
I'll give you one.
Well, you'll run out of them that way.
That's why I work in a bank.
Kind of hard on the depositors.
Your, friend's late, isn't he?
I can wait.
Maybe he forgot. You should have tied a string around his finger.
No, lady. He already had one around his neck. Well, she went back to copping nickels, and I sat down in one of the plush chairs and waited. 10:30 came, 11 came, Benda didn't. I began to get an uneasy feeling, like a bubble dancer with a slow leak. At 11:10, I couldn't take any more waiting, so I left to head for Benda's place. Outside the bank, a thin guy with a sharp head was hawking papers. I slipped him the nickel that the blonde had given me, and he handed me a Daily News. I wanted to see what a horse named Larry R. had done at Belmont, but I didn't get beyond the first page. Benda's picture was there, right next to Governor Dewey's, only Ben wasn't running for office. They found him in his room full of bullet holes. I guess he finally got a cure for that cough. I took my car out of the lot and headed for home. I mixed myself a tall one, and I was just getting to the bottom of it when a couple of guys kicked my door open.
Regan?
Yeah.
I'm Lieutenant Anderson, homicide. This is Sergeant Pinelli.
Hiya.
Don't you guys believe in knocking?
My knuckles are sore. Nice stuff.
Well, help yourself. It's out in the kitchen.
Don't drink on the job.
Pinelli?
Me neither.
You boys should have told me you were coming. I'd have called some girls.
Not on a job.
Pinelli?
I got a wife.
All right, Regan, find your hat.
What for?
Well, you want to look nice. We're going downtown, you and me and Pete. Right, Pete?
Right, Andy.
No, it's too hot there.
We thought of that. We'll give you a nice, cool place, won't we, Pete?
Sure will, Andy.
You got a warrant?
No, we just figured you might want to tell us why you did it.
Did what?
Tell him, Pete.
Knock off Ben Bender and burn his feet.
You're out of your mind.
Now, Regan, we know you saw Bender last night. We know you got out of a car on the corner and walked up to his place. We know you were the last one to see him while he was still alive.
You got a witness?
Pretty one. A girl told us.
Oh, you're trying real hard, Anderson, but you haven't got anything.
If you were the last one to see him alive, you're the first one to see him dead. That's how we figured.
Did you figure on a guy named Al Spandy who drives a black coupe?
I never heard of him.
And how about a dozen other hoods who knew Bender?
Now you're trying hard, Regan.
You haven't even got a foundation.
We got the whole building.
It'll never stand up.
We'll see.
All right, you tell me why I did it.
You private eyes get folders on bank jobs.
I get them from Charles Atlas, too.
Bender was in on an $80,000 heist 8 years ago. He went up for carrying a concealed weapon, but the money was never found. You know that the Imperial Bonding Company's offering $5,000 for the recovery of that dough?
The lion.
Don't make any dates tonight. You're not going to be available.
All right. The lion will tell you I was working on a case when I saw Bender.
Oh, we already talked to the lion.
Well, what did he say?
He says he hasn't seen you for 5 days.
You are listening to the story of the man with the key, tonight's adventure with Jeff Regan, investigator. Commissions are still available in the Army Nurse Corps Reserve. If you were a graduate registered nurse between the ages of 21 and 45, you may be eligible for a commission in the Army Nurse Corps section of the Regular Officers Reserve. These commissions are still available, and those who meet the high standards and qualify may elect active or inactive status. Those who request inactive status will continue with their civilian nursing duties but stand ready to serve in time of emergency. Nurses who elect active duty become commissioned officers in the regular Army. If you believe you qualify for a commission in the Army Nurse Corps Reserve, apply to the Adjutant General, Washington, D.C. And now back to the story of the man with the key and Jeff Regan, investigator.
Well, I had about as much chance as a violin player with no chin. Anderson and Pinelli took me down and locked me in one of the rooms upstairs. They didn't ask any questions. I guess they figured they had enough answers. Oh, it was a real nice fix. A dame named Dora King takes me to a con named Ben Benda. He slips me a hot key and says meet him in a bank at 10. I'm there on time, getting the phone number of a blonde named Claire, only Ben doesn't show. Somebody burns his feet and fogs him before he can keep the date. And then there's that black coupe registered to a question mark named Al Spandy. And then the lion deals one from the bottom. Oh, it was a screwy picture, and I was right in the middle of the frame. Well, I spent the next 4 hours taking in some free entertainment from the drunk in the next cell.
Okay, Regan, on your feet.
Bastille Day?
You're sprung.
Well, I was getting tired of the floor show anyway.
Try and make it Saturday sometimes. That's our big night.
Or if I bring a date?
I got a phone. I got a phone, my wife.
That guy ought to be at Ciro's.
Where do you think we picked him up?
Regan, I'm running out of patience with you. How many times have I told you to keep out of trouble?
Why didn't you tell him I was working on a case?
I went to a lot of trouble to get you out.
And you went to a lot of trouble to get me in.
That was easy. Still got that key to Bender's safety deposit box?
I got it.
Tomorrow morning at 10, you're at that bank getting into the box.
You're crazy. It's in Bender's name.
I'll teach you how to spell it.
I won't do it.
Homicide might like to know you got that key. Now, you listen to me and we'll both make dough.
Where I'd be, I couldn't spend it.
If the $80,000 from the bank job Bender pulled happens to be in that box, like I think it is, Imperial Bonding owes us $5,000 reward.
I don't like it.
You owe it to the company.
Now, listen, you. Bender was knocked off for this key. Whoever wants it might make another try.
Nobody knows you got it.
Well, I'll give it to you, and nobody will know you got it.
Regan, I'm giving you a chance to straighten yourself out.
That's right.
What do you mean?
I feel stiff already. Well, it was a triple play. Homicide to the lion to the black coupe. I went home to wash off some of the jailhouse Lysol. When I walked in the front door, I had company. A gray flannel suit with a yellow tie was sitting on the edge of my bed. Both hands were full. The whiskey was mine. The gun was his. When he saw me, he set down the bottle and walked over and put the gun right against my neck. It felt cold, and I got kind of nervous, like a hula dancer in a forest fire.
Hiya, Regan. Been waiting for you.
You like my liquor?
I'm a rye drinker myself.
Well, bring your own next time.
That ain't being sociable.
You weren't invited.
Huh. How could I have been? You don't even know me.
You're Al Spandy. You drive a black coupe.
What'd I have for breakfast?
Egg, and it's all over your tie.
You look hot, Regan.
You have to hold that gun there.
Right there.
Same one you used on Bender?
The same. All right, now, gimme, Regan.
I told you, I don't have any rye.
Where's the key?
I don't use one. My door's always open.
I'm talking about that key you got from Bender.
I don't have it.
Do you hear any music?
Yeah, but I'll sit the next one out.
No, you won't. This is a men's cheat.
I'll step on your toes.
I don't mind. It's a pull gun. I want to do it with you. Ooh!
Oh, it was a long dance, but Spandy didn't get tired. I knew I wasn't going to last the evening out. And then I saw Dora King standing in the doorway back to Spandy. She was taking everything in like a Hoover vacuum cleaner on a dirty rug. She had a .25 in her hand, and she knew how to use it. Thanks for cutting in, lady.
I had to do it. He was killing you.
Yeah, I'll take the gun, huh?
You know I had to do it.
Yeah. Here. Go on, drink it.
Yes.
You want to tell me all about it?
Yes. I wanted to tell you at first, but Ben wouldn't let me.
He's not around to stop you.
Do you think Spandy hurt him much before he killed him?
I wasn't there.
He was sick. He couldn't have taken much.
Why'd you tip the cops on me?
I thought you might have done it. Now I know different.
Tell that to homicide.
I will.
You better. Spandy can't.
He's dead?
That's right.
You still don't trust me.
No, I don't.
I couldn't help myself once the gun went off. Big Ben was my father.
Yeah?
He didn't want anyone to know. All he wanted was to give me a break.
Why'd he hire me?
He was afraid.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Regan,
Yeah?
may I have the key?
I haven't got it.
You can get it.
Maybe. You know what's in that box?
I think so.
Or why don't I turn it over to the police?
That's my job. Like I told you. I'm Big Ben's daughter.
Yeah, lady. You convinced Spandy. Well, I called homicide, and Anderson and Pinelli handled it. We all wound up downtown. It didn't take them long to find out that the gun Spandy used on me was the same one that killed Big Ben. Dora gave Anderson her story. He said it would take some fixing, but he could keep her out of the papers. It was justifiable homicide. She wouldn't even be indicted, but they had to hold her overnight. Well, it was almost daylight when I pulled to a stop in front of my apartment. I was beginning to feel a little better, but it didn't last long. When I walked into my place, it looked like the L.A. Dons had been having a scrimmage. Every corner had been going over. Oh, it didn't make sense. Bender was dead, Spandy was dead, Dora King was downtown, but somebody still wanted that key. Well, I crawled into what was left of my bed and set the alarm for 9:30. I didn't sleep much. I kept seeing keys and faces and $80,000 bills. Ten o'clock the next morning, Granite 3408 was still sitting behind the same desk near the same safety deposit vault. She gave me the same look.
I waited for you to call last night.
I spent the nickel.
On a doctor?
I'd like to get into my box.
All right, Mr. Bender, sign here.
All right. There you are.
This way.
Looks like part of the new freeway.
One thing about a vault, it's quiet.
So's a tomb.
We're alone.
Yeah.
Well?
All right, Sunshine, open your eyes. My box number is 60B.
That can wait. I can't.
Easy, baby. You'll set off the alarm.
You and I can make a great team, Bender.
You know my name's not Bender.
What is it?
Regan.
You and I can make a great team, Regan.
Is that what you told Al Spandy?
Why bring up a dead issue?
What's your deal?
You got Bender's key, I got the bank's key. You need both of them to open up the box.
It's good so far. Go on.
Oh, there's $80,000 there. Let's not let it go to waste.
Big Ben waited 7 years to open that box. Look what happened to him.
I waited just as long as Ben, and 7 years is harder on a girl.
How'd you work it?
Ben and I had a great plan. I was the cashier Ben heisted. Only I just gave him a bag full of paper. The real dough's in his box.
Well, that's the safest way. Keep your money in a bank.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when it cooled off, both of you go in and pick up the dough together.
That's the way it was supposed to work, only Ben was dumb enough to get himself picked up and tucked away for 7 years.
Oh, you made real good partners. Nobody trusted anybody.
I trust you.
That why you went through my place looking for the key last night?
Girl's got to use her head. Besides, you might have been home.
Ben and Spandy are dead.
We don't have to worry about either of them. The money's still here. We got the keys that'll open the box. Can you add that?
Yeah.
What's the answer?
About 20 years.
What do you mean?
That bonding company will see that you get the full load for grand larceny.
You wouldn't turn me in.
Don't make book on that.
You and I'd make a great team, Regan. We can't lose.
That's what USC thought. Well, I called Anderson and Pinelli, and they came out and picked her up. I rode down as far as the office with them. That wrapped it up. When I told the Lion what had happened, he was as happy as a college boy in a harem. He got on the phone right away and called up Imperial Bonding, told him to make out that reward check for 5 G's to Anthony J. Lyon. But he was real good about it. He took me for a ride in his new Nash convertible. Well, I guess he deserved it. He was really the patsy that had done all the heavy work ever since he bailed me out of jail. Because that's when I slipped Bender's key in his pocket.
Jack Webb is featured as Jeff Regan with Herb Butterfield as Anthony J. Lyon. Jeff Regan, Investigator, written by E. Jack Newman and Larry Roman, produced by Sterling Tracy, is heard each week at this time over CBS. Tonight's cast included Ken Christie, Yvonne Patey, Marvin Miller, Paul Frees, and June Martell. If you are a graduate registered nurse, please listen carefully to this important message. 29,000 nurses are needed to join the new Army Nurse Corps Officers Reserve. All nurses who receive reserve commissions will benefit from the opportunity for specialized training offered to them by the Army. Inactive reserve status will not interfere with the nurse's civilian life, but the educational opportunities offered her by the Army Medical Department will be of great advantage. For further information, drop a card to the Adjutant General, Washington, D.C. Original music for this program is by Dick Arant. Bob Stevenson speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. You know, this, to me, in terms of the interaction and the writing, this had to be the best episode of Jeff Regan we've heard yet. I was chuckling several times as they worked through the dialogue. I thought that scene in the bar was classic, with the bartender inviting them to stay for the floor show because his brother was going to play something he'd written, and then ended up advising them that leaving was a good idea because it wasn't any good. And the similes rolled quite a bit. You usually don't hear as many, but this had about as many, or close to it, as an episode of Pat Novak. And long-time listeners will remember how much action gets packed into that. We also saw a return of Pilgrim. So this was a script I think that had it all. So it was top-notch on this particular episode. All right, well, we do have some comments on Facebook. Barbara writes, I was wondering why you don't do Richard Diamond. I love Dick Powell in that role. He is really funny. Well, it's on our list of shows to do, but it requires a lot of space because there's nearly 2 years' worth of shows. And we like to work through all the episodes of a particular show. You will, sooner than we get to Richard Diamond, you'll get to hear Dick Powell in another role as Richard Rogue. Which leads into a couple comments. Some folks not quite as enthused with Jeff Regan. Writes Kathleen, regarding the story of Abel and Cain in the Santa Maria. Man, the violence in that episode made me sick, and I couldn't even see it. The imagination is definitely stronger than the eye. Keep up the good work. Jeff Regan is my least favorite, but I'll listen to those episodes because that's what the day has. And then have a comment here from August. I don't know why, but I just haven't gotten into Jeff Regan much. Pat Novak was my favorite series so far, with its clone Johnny Madero right behind. All three starred Jack Webb, of course, so it's not the actor. Part of it with Jeff Regan might be the sound quality, which is sometimes hard to hear over the engine of the van I drive for work. Nevertheless, I quite enjoy the other 4 series currently running, so that's 80%. Pretty good. I really appreciate this podcast. Thanks, Adam. Well, thanks, August and Kathleen. That's definitely kind of the variety we aim for. It would be something for everybody, because I know we've gotten some comments where Regan has been listed as a favorite. This episode, I thought, was one of the better ones in terms of audio quality, as well as in terms of violence. You may enjoy the second Jeff Regan series more, and I'll talk about it when we get to it. But the second Jeff Regan series stars a little-known actor whose characterization reminds me a lot of Richard Rogue, though with some Marlowe-esque twist. And so the violence is a little bit less. In 10 of those 13 episodes, the audio has excellent condition. So you may enjoy the second Jeff Regan series more than the first. That one's going to be coming in 10 weeks. And speaking of series that I would like to do, I added another to the list. So from undecided to yes, I definitely would like to do A Life in Your Hands. I mentioned the show last week from the creator of Perry Mason. It's actually a pretty intriguing show. The idea of a lawyer who doesn't represent either side. They're well written, some pretty clever mysteries, and just good quality drama. Some of the 1950s shows, when they did drama, almost could get into silly levels of melodrama. But I don't think A Life in Your Hands did that. And really is just a solid premise. So I will enjoy bringing that to you. Those of you who have the app will see this as an extra. So you can go in and listen to it. Listen to a sample episode. The same thing if you're on our extra site. You can download as one of our May unhosted episode downloads. You can download A Life in Your Hands, and just download that by July 1st. All right, before we get started on the show, I want to remind you briefly about the special offers available to our listeners with Audible. You can get 2 weeks free. It comes with a free audiobook. Risk-free trial. Go to Audible Podcast/Old-Time Radio. As I mentioned, Audible comes with an audiobook a month plus a complimentary audio subscription to your choice, New York Times or Wall Street Journal. You can also go to greatdetectives.net, and if you want an extended trial, you can click the link there and in the sidebar, and you get the first 3 months for $7.95 a month. Well, let's go ahead and we'll get into today's episode of Let George Do It, which, as I mentioned last week, I believe, there were a couple lost episodes in between, which really throws off our synergy with Jeff Regan. Because after that lost episode of Jeff Regan, the Jeff Regan episode you heard last week was within the same week as the Let George Do It episode. But now there were 2 lost episodes of Let George Do It, so it's all thrown out. So, but let's go and we'll take a listen to Death Wears a Gay Sports Jacket.
Standard of California, on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West, invites you to Let George Do It. Death Wears a Gay Sport Jacket. Another adventure of George Valentine.
Personal notice. Changes my stock and trade. If you're crowded into a corner and can't fight your way out, call on me, George Valentine. Write full details.
Dear Mr. Valentine, in the last month, violent death has struck 4 people in the Warrington Square section. Death in a gay sport jacket. I think I know who the killer is, but I can't be sure, and I'll never have a moment's peace until he's caught. The police don't seem to believe there's any connection between these 4 murders. That's why I'm hiring you. Enclosed, find the key.
Find the key to locker 306 in the East Hempstead Railroad Station. The money you found there should pay your fee and expenses. It's yours whether you accept the case or not. I leave that up to your conscience.
Mm-hmm. I gather, Brooksy, there's no signature.
No, just a generous amount of white space on the bottom, George. And the letter's typewritten.
Our correspondent seems to revel in mystery.
Well, here's something more specific. You might call it a postscript.
Yeah?
List of Warrington Square victims.
Uh-huh. Well, whoever wrote this, he or she, didn't have to go to that trouble. Jack Pringle on the Morning Bulletin has been repeating that list in bold type every day.
September 12th, Joe Barcelona, butcher. September 17th, Mrs. Adelaide Walsh, housewife. September 29th, James O'Hara, truck driver. October 18th, Nancy Cabot, fashion designer.
4?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know about Nancy Cabot, whoever she is. Hey, you know, Angel, this should be a pleasure.
Multiple murder?
No. A client who's willing to pay off without even identifying himself.
Well, that is if there is any money in locker 306.
Well, Brooksy, there doesn't have to be any mystery about that.
Pacific Limited, leaving on track 14 in 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
You see, it is real money, Brooksy. This stuff in here isn't watercress.
No. I can recognize the pictures of some of our nicest presidents.
How about that? There's $300 here.
But how are you going to earn that lucre, George? Or don't you have a conscience?
I don't know about a conscience, Angel, but I keep thinking about Nancy Cabot. Why is her name on that list? If anything has happened to her, why haven't we read about it in the papers?
Valentine, believe it or not, when a crime is committed, the police somehow manage to hear about it. I told you there's been no report about a Nancy Cabot.
Okay, Lieutenant, okay. What do you make of this letter?
Oh, we've been getting our share of love notes like that, too. Everybody has an idea who the man in the plaid sport jacket is. Why don't you check up on the delivery boy in our neighborhood? He likes plaid shirts. My neighbor has an uncle who isn't right in the head, and so on and so forth.
Well, it's not impossible that there is a character like that floating around.
It's only possible when you have a mind like Jack Pringle's. Why, even I own a plaid sport jacket.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Oh, you're cute, Valentine.
Well, after all, Lieutenant, people
Look,
did
Miss
see...
Brooks, here's all I have to say, then I want to forget. Joe Barcelona, butcher, has a brawl and ends up with a knife in his back. An old woman out walking her cat tells Pringle that she saw a guy in a plaid coat leaving the scene.
Could be.
Okay, so we're working on the case.
And how about Mrs. Walsh?
Oh, that was no murder. The woman was up on the roof and decided to end it all. But Pringle digs up a neighborhood character by the name of Mallory, who swears he saw the same fashion plate slinking away from the building. So right away, she was pushed off the roof. And that leaves James O'Hara.
Yeah, I know. This time, Pringle came up with a ham actor named Emmett Carey who said the victim was shoved under a truck by the same plaid-coated individual.
The medical examiner says O'Hara was plastered and didn't know where he was going. Now, can you blame me if I don't see eye to eye with Pringle? What does he care if he starts a minor crime wave as long as it builds circulation for his lousy
Lieutenant, don't mind me.
Pringle, how did you get in
I
here?
just walked in. You get steamed up like that, how do you expect to hear doors open? I don't know how you can stand it in here, Valentine, without your ears stopped.
Get out of here,
Now,
you...
hold on, Lieutenant. I'm just doing my job, which is to repeat the same question I asked yesterday. What's being done to track down this sadistic monster in a gay sport coat?
Now, look here, you...
What's your interest in this case, Valentine?
Oh, me? Oh, I'm always interested in the fee.
Oh? Who are you working for?
Well, even if I knew myself, friend, I wouldn't tell you.
Oh, no offense. I just get paid to find out things.
Now you found out it's none of your business.
You know, sweetheart, one of these days I'm going to have me a girl Friday just like you. You'd be surprised how women go for me.
Women take to arsenic, too. But that's no recommendation for poison.
Very good, Miss Brooks.
Maybe I'm touchy, but it looks as though I'm not wanted.
Oh, don't leave on our account, Pringle. We're just going. In case you want to know where, Miss Brooks has to see a lady out a cat.
Yum,
Young lady, it's very sweet of you to sign my petition.
Oh, think nothing of it, Mrs. Winthrop.
This city needs a home for stray cats. I've been waging this campaign for 20 years.
Oh, to get back to Joe Barcelona, Mrs. Winthrop, how can you be so sure about the man in the sport coat? Wasn't it pretty dark that night?
Oh, yes. But sometimes I do think I have the eyes of a cat, my dear. Do you believe in reincarnation? Do you think I might have some sea lion blood in me?
Oh, I wouldn't know. Just what did you tell Mr. Pringle?
Oh, he asked me so many questions, Miss Brooks. I'm certainly glad I was able to supply him the answers. Why, if there's a killer around, he may even decide he doesn't like cats. There are some people like that, you know.
Well, thanks very much.
Did you read what Mr. Pringle wrote about me in the paper? He called me the cat woman. Wasn't that sweet of him?
Lieutenant Riley couldn't have said I swore or saw anybody.
You mean you're going back on your story, Mr. Mallory?
By no means. I'm just not a swearing man. Here, have one of my cards.
What do you mean? What's it? If you ever feel like cussing, it's the devil in you fussing.
I give out hundreds of those every day.
That's swell.
Swearing destroys a person's moral fiber. It's worse than drinking. And talking about drinking, could you spare a little change for a cup of coffee and...
I don't know what the answer is, but this ought to cover it.
Well, I'll be switched. Oh, you see how you can express your emotions without resorting to profanity.
Yeah, I'll make a mental note of that. Now, Mr. Mallory, how can you be so sure that the man you saw scuttling out of Mrs. Walsh's building after she fell to the street is one and the same as in the Barcelona case? After all, a lot of men wear plaid sport jackets.
Oh, no, by jinkety. When Mr. Pringle was asking me all those questions, I realized that the coat was the exact same color, and blue and green plaid.
I see. Okay, if that's your story, I guess I'm stuck with it. Bye, jinkety.
No, Mr. Carey, I'm not a newspaper reporter.
Oh, very unfortunate, Miss Brooks. I thought you might have some occasion to talk to Mr. Pringle and remind him that when he uses my name in his stories, it's spelled with 2 M's and 2 T's. Emmett Carey.
Well, I'm just checking on that man you saw push Mr. O'Hara in front of the truck.
Oh, I never said I actually saw this fiend do it. What I did say was that my powers of observation, developed after long years in the theater, made me spot the culprit before he could beat a hasty retreat and so lose himself in the crowd.
Oh?
The garment he was wearing matched exactly the coat described by Mr. Pringle in his newspaper pieces.
Then there's no room for doubt.
None whatsoever. Oh, it was gratifying to see my name in the papers again.
I can imagine.
And you shall see it again and again, my dear, when I found just the right vehicle for my talent.
Yes, I'm sure of that. Now, I really must...
You will remember to tell Mr. Pringle that there are 2 M's and 2 T's, now won't you?
You don't know the time I had finding you, Miss Cabot.
But I see you did.
Is there any reason why you aren't listed in the telephone directory?
Yes. Privacy, Mr. Valentine. I'm curious, how did you manage to locate me?
Oh, I did a little checking. I happen to know you're a fashion designer.
You seem to know a great deal about me.
Including the fact that you're on somebody's death list.
Oh, come now. Isn't that a bit too melodramatic?
I got a letter from somebody who didn't sign his name. Call that melodramatic, too. But it had you listed as the 4th victim of this prowler in a plaid jacket. I'm glad to see that it was a mistake.
Can there be any doubt that I'm very much alive?
Well, even saying this was a cracked note, you ought to be a little more concerned. Why, your name, Miss Cabot. And you do live in the same neighborhood where our friend is operating.
Sorry. Right now I'm more interested in watering these flowers. Mr. Valentine, have you ever tried growing things in a window box? It's really a challenge.
Is that all you have to say?
Yes. Unless you're an authority on ivy geraniums.
You see, I find it difficult to be hysterical about this apparition who's supposed to be haunting Warrington Square.
Yeah, you and the police both.
So far, you haven't produced anything spectacular to make me feel otherwise.
No, I guess not.
Look, I do appreciate what you're trying to be helpful, Mr. Valentine. I'd like to be helpful, too.
Well?
Talk to Jack Pringle.
What about?
Doesn't it seem odd to you that he's the one who always comes up with a witness and a detailed description of the madman?
Yeah, I've mulled that over. It's possible a reporter might overwork his imagination to get a good story.
Or he might have other reasons. Of course, I wouldn't know. I'm just trying to be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Mr. Valentine, it's getting late. I really must get dressed for dinner. I'd like to ask you to stay, but he happens to be something very special. My future husband, I hope.
All right, good luck, Nancy. But just to make sure, you'd better find out if he owns a gay sport jacket.
What took you so long up there, George? What does she have to say?
Nothing particularly new, Angel, except a discourse on growing geraniums in a window box. Come on, let's go.
Well, aside from meeting a gallery of queer characters, got nowhere found. George! Oh, that window box just missed us.
Back up against the wall, Brooksy. The lady has more than one of those up there.
I'd feel better back in the lobby.
I know I'm not going to feel better until I have another talk with Nancy Cabot. Better get Riley on the phone, Angel.
Oh, who could have gotten in here and choked her? You only left her a few minutes ago.
I can think of 3 answers. Somebody who was waiting for me to leave, somebody Nancy knew well, and somebody who had good reason to let fall with that window box.
Well, now all we need is a witness to say he saw a man in a gay sport jacket.
Well, get busy, Brooksy. Don't impede justice. Call the lieutenant.
Well, what are you doing with that typewriter, George?
Dear Mr. Valentine, in the last month...
Oh, I get it. Was it Miss Cabot who wrote us that letter?
On her own little typewriter, Brooksy. She was just a day early in writing her obituary.
We'll return to tonight's adventure of George Valentine in just a moment. Meanwhile, a word about an important driving precaution. If you're planning a motoring trip, here's something you should do to make it a safe trip. Stop in at a standard station or independent Chevron gas station before you start out and have your tires inspected. If you find they're worn smooth, have risky cuts or bruises, don't take a chance. Play safe and get a new set of grip-safe Atlas tires. The wider, skid-resisting Atlas tread gives you greater driving protection. There's more rubber to grip the road to give you quick, safe stops and absorb road shocks. With each new Atlas passenger tire, you get a full year's written warranty against damage to the tire from road hazards. No wonder Atlas is the tire known nationally for its safety, long life, and economy. Another tip, when you're on the open road, keep safe by keeping the right amount of air in each tire. And that's a job for the folks at independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations where they say and mean, we'll take better care of your car. You get an unsigned letter and a list of 4 people who've met with violent death. In exchange for good legal tender found in a railroad station locker, you're supposed to come up with the murderer. If you're anything like George Valentine, the deal doesn't faze you. But then you find one of the victims still alive. However, she doesn't disappoint you. You find the lady nicely throttled in her apartment, which is where you are now with Brooksy and Lieutenant Riley.
But Valentine, if Nancy Cabot was afraid for her life, why didn't she sign her name to that letter instead of all this rigmarole?
Well, don't you see, Lieutenant? She knew that if I took that job, I'd eventually get around to that 4th name on the list. Then she'd find out how I was doing without tipping her hand.
Well, that's an answer, George, but it doesn't make it any simpler.
Yeah. Nice having you on my side for a change, Miss Brooks.
She was plain scared that this guy in the plaid coat would find out that she got in touch with me. There's nothing complicated about that.
Huh?
Another thing. All the time I was talking to her, I had the feeling she was trying to tell me something. But what?
Oh, despite myself, I'm beginning to believe Pringle's story about the ghost of Warrington Square.
Oh, not you, Lieutenant.
Well, can you blame me? Valentine leaves the gal's apartment. She's choked to death. A flower box comes down on your head, and then the killer disappears into thin air.
If another neighborhood character says he saw a man in a gay sport coat coming out of the house, he'll have to explain why we didn't see him.
Now, wait a minute, Pringle. You can't go in there.
Never mind, Hennessy. Let him come in.
Where's she, Riley? I've got to see her.
She's in the next room. But you have no objection if the medical examiner looks at her first?
Get out of my way.
Wait a minute. What's the matter with you? You crazy?
I'll try to stop her.
Hey, wait a minute, Lieutenant. You know the girl, don't you, Pringle?
No, we're going to be married.
What's that? You must have been the someone very special she was going to meet tonight.
How do you know, Valentine? What were you doing here?
Miss Cabot hired me to find this dapper murderer you've been writing about.
You shouldn't have done that. She knew what it meant to me to prove I was right. She should have stayed out of it.
Well, it's a tough break, Pringle, but don't blame yourself.
You're right, I should. I should blame you.
Now, wait a minute.
If you'd done something, he never would have had a chance to kill Nancy.
What makes you so sure it was our friend?
Don't be naive, Valentine. This man is mad. This was his way of getting back at me.
Oh, that's incredible.
That's putting it mildly. But from here on in, Pringle, I'll accept your theory as fact and work accordingly.
Oh, wait a minute. I know you're desperate, Lieutenant, but don't be rash.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, as soon as I find out, I'll let you know.
Say, George, there's a man in the outer office. He gave me this for you.
What? Do your bit for all humanity. Join the fight against profanity. Oh. Don't you remember, Angel? I told you about Mr. Mallory. Bring him in.
Oh, the characters in this case. This way, Mr. Mallory.
Oh, yes, thank you, miss.
What brings you here?
I saw the picture of that girl who was murdered.
You mean Miss Cabot?
Yes.
Here, Mr. Mallory, sit down. Make yourself at home.
Well, come on. What about the lady?
Well, perhaps first we could talk about a little contribution to my anti-cussing campaign.
Oh. The amount will depend on the information, so you'd better start talking.
Well, it said in the papers that Mr. Pringle and Miss Cabot were so in love with each other and were going to get married.
Love, marriage. That's the usual combination, isn't it?
Well, a couple of days ago they were together, and they passed me on the street. They were having a terrible fight.
Oh?
Yes, and you should have heard the words Mr. Pringle used. I was tempted to give him one of my cards.
Do you remember what they were quarreling about?
She made it plain she was going to marry someone else.
Hey, that would change the picture a little, George.
Yeah. If it wasn't just a lover's quarrel.
Mr. Valentine, about the...
Oh, yeah. Hey,
You busy, Valentine?
No. Come in, Lieutenant.
Well, I thought we'd compare notes again, because this case is the darndest...
Hey, Lieutenant, what you said. Here, take one of my cards.
Oh, you with those cards.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Valentine.
I drive you crazy.
You look tired, Lieutenant.
Tired? Oh, I'm walking around dead.
Well, here, relax. Take it easy.
Look, Valentine, now, look, we've had our differences, but I'm at a point now where I'll take suggestions from anybody.
You know, that's a very reasonable attitude.
Never mind that. Say, do you know anything I don't know? What did Jane in the Cabot apartment about me not being too rash or something like that?
Oh, George was just thinking of your blood pressure, Lieutenant.
Nah, don't give me that. Come on, now, loosen up, Valentine. Come on.
Okay. Maybe I can tell you something that'll make you feel a lot better.
What's that?
You don't have to worry about any more murders in Warrington Square. There won't be any.
What makes you say that? How do you know?
Well, for one thing...
for the love.
Okay, Angel, I'll take it. Hello? Who? Oh, yeah, I know all about you. What's that? Well, that's fine, but just keep that to yourself till we have a chance to talk it over. Yeah, I'll be right there.
Now, look, what were you going to say? What makes you so sure there's not going to be another murder?
I'm afraid that'll have to wait now, Lieutenant. My optimism has suddenly waned.
Carrie's rooming house is just on the next block, George.
Hey, Brooksy, just how did this Emmett Carey impress you? You spoke to him.
Oh, just an actor who probably sleeps with his scrapbook under the pillow. Seemed honest enough.
Yeah, sounded like a screwball over the phone. Anyway, something must have happened to change his mind about the man in the plaid coat.
If he told Pringle that, I can imagine how the demon reporter feels. Oh, golly, this is all we need.
Who is this?
Catwoman. If she starts talking, we'll never get out of here.
One of my cats is missing, Miss Brooks. Have you seen her? You couldn't help recognizing her. Her name is Bella.
Oh, there hasn't been a cat in sight, Mrs. Winthrop. Now, we really must...
I can't understand it. Bella was such a well-adjusted cat. Have you seen her, young man?
No, ma'am.
Oh, well, she'll come back.
Brooksy, don't you...
My petition. Would you care to sign it, young man?
But I...
To found a home for stray cats.
Better sign it, George.
Okay.
Do you suppose, Miss Brooks, that man in the plaid coat could have lured Bella away? I've been thinking about it.
Oh! Uncle George!
We'll tell you later, Mother. Come on, let me in here.
Oh, I came out of the house and I nearly stumbled over it.
George, it's Emmett Carey.
Hey, look, miss. Did you notice anyone else in the street when you came out?
Oh, a man was just running around the corner.
The man in the plaid coat. Brooksy, stay here till the police come. I'll be right back. Hey, look, friend. A man came running into this block a few minutes ago. He had to pass here. Did you see him? You must have seen him. Oh.
No, I wouldn't be able to see him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Everybody around here knows poor old Joe can't see. You're looking for this fellow in a plaid coat, aren't you? He just passed here.
Yeah. But how would you know that if you're blind?
He stopped right in front of me here.
You mean he told you who he was?
Oh, he said everybody was looking for him, but they'd never find him. He said he wasn't through killing yet. He didn't care who I told that to. You know, he must be crazy.
You're not kidding, Pop. Well said.
You're not going to stop looking for him, are you?
He has a way of evaporating right in front of your eyes.
Oh, you should keep after him. He ran down the street and went into that alley. You know, a fella like that shouldn't be around loose.
Okay, this is for your trouble.
Oh, God bless you.
Don't mention it. Whether you know it or not, you may turn out to be the one to clean up this whole mess.
And in this, the latest of the Warrington Square murders, the police have a blind man as the principal witness. Now maybe a blind man shall lead the police, etc., etc. Well, that's a beautiful story you wrote, Pringle.
What did you want me to do, Lieutenant? Shower you with compliments?
Don't you feel out of things not being the one to find the witness this time?
Not at all, sweetheart. Seems I'm right in the middle of things. Tell me, Riley, why did you ask me down here anyway? Thought I wasn't welcome in your office.
If you want to know, it wasn't my idea at all.
All right, I'll guess who. Valentine? Where is he?
Oh, he's here. Okay, Valentine.
Yeah, over here, Joe. Take this chair. Be careful now.
That's all right, Mr. Valentine. You don't have to worry about poor old Joe. I can get around.
So you finally decided to let the working press talk to your precious witness, huh, Lieutenant?
That's right. I thought you'd like an interview.
Yeah, I've got a few questions for him.
Well, keep them under your hat, because Valentine here is going to ask the questions.
Correction, please, Lieutenant. Just one question. Joe, you said the man in the plaid sport coat stopped and talked to you.
That's right.
Well, here's the question. Do you know who he is?
Yes. It's that fellow over there.
Is he pointing at me?
That's right. This was one time the power of suggestion couldn't work on a witness. You couldn't plant any ideas in Joe's mind as you did with the other three witnesses.
You must be hopped up, Valentine.
You had to act out the myth you created because you thought he was blind.
Boy.
He's just a bad boy, Pringle. He doesn't like to work. There's nothing wrong with Joe's eyes.
Seems strange to be reading anything about the Warrington Square murders without Jack Pringle's byline on it.
Yeah, well, it'll have to carry a city jail dateline, Brooksy. The editor probably didn't think that would look dignified.
Well, I hope you're pleased to see yourself in print, darling. Valentine suspected the blind man was a phony when the latter pointed out with such accuracy the path the fleeing killer took.
Yeah, only one thing wrong with that story. They don't mention my name enough.
Furthermore, Valentine...
That's better.
Valentine reasoned that Pringle could have instilled in the three earlier witnesses the conviction that they'd seen a man in the plaid coat when actually no such man existed.
Yeah, but Brooksy, they forgot to add that Pringle was lucky to find 3 people who were so susceptible to suggestion.
A Catwoman, a man with a crusade, a ham actor.
Mm-hmm. Pringle tried not to overlook a thing. He knew it would look too suspicious if the trail stopped abruptly after he killed Nancy Cabot. So he went on with Kerry to keep alive the myth of killing the gay sport jacket. Oh, Angel. I think I'll take Lieutenant Riley's suggestion and give that $300 to the police welfare fund.
Oh, that's fine. But shouldn't we keep some of it for all the time and work?
Oh, I forgot to mention this. I sold an exclusive first-person story to the Morning Bulletin for $500.
Why does the lady of the house defrost the refrigerator periodically? Because she knows that too much ice will prevent proper cooling. If she's wise and thrifty about the family car, too, she knows it's all important to get oil drains at regular intervals. That's because any oil used too long collects too much carbon and other engine killers. So if you've driven quite a spell without having the crankcase oil drained and replaced with fresh oil, take a tip. You'll get longer engine life by getting an oil drain at a standard station or an independent Chevron gas station tomorrow. For that's where they have RPM motor oil. RPM, you know, is compounded to keep your whole engine system cleaner. And that it certainly does when you get oil drains at regular intervals. Speedy oil drain service with premium quality RPM for your fresh oil is another reason all these stations say and mean we'll take better care of your car. Next week, when you tune our way for another adventure of George Valentine, a new and intriguing letter will come to George's desk saying,
Dear Mr. Valentine, for almost 7 years I've been hounding a man who killed his own wife. Next week he's going to collect $200,000 because I failed. I need help and I don't mind admitting it. So how about giving me a ring? Signed, Samuels.
Don't miss George Valentine's latest case, The 7 Dead Years, next Monday night. Tonight's adventure of George Valentine has been brought to you by Standard of California on behalf of the independent Chevron gas stations and Standard stations throughout the West. Let George Do It stars Robert Bailey as George with Frances Robinson as Claire. Wally Mayer appears as Lieutenant Riley. Tonight's story was written by David Victor and Herbert Little, Jr. and directed by Don Clark. Also heard in the cast were Georgia Ellis as Nancy, Tony Barrett as Pringle, Peggy Weber as Mrs. Winthrop, Howard McNear as Mallory, Larry Dobkin as Carrie, and Dick Ryan as Joe. The music is composed and conducted by Eddie Dunstetter, your announcer, John Heaston. Listen again next week, same time, same station, to Let George Do It. This is the Mutual Don Lee Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. Well, I have to say I wasn't terribly surprised by who the killer was, but I thought the explanation was pretty fascinating. So that made for an interesting chase here, and just a very solid mystery. And I thought it was a great twist how they caught the killer. So a pretty well done mystery here. And I like the way they changed the end where they're just previewing the letter that George is going to get. In the other format, because you didn't have any context, you were just kind of confused, like, what's going on? And it's interesting because it's confusing and I don't know what's happening. This is a little more enlightening and a good way to have an idea of what's ahead next week. So Well, I'm making it a habit based on a previous email warning that some of these later Holmes series may not be as good as the Rathbone Bruce series we're listening to. I'm evaluating ahead of time, so I'll know if a particular adaptation just didn't work, so we won't do it. I went ahead and I listened to the first John Stanley Sherlock Holmes adaptation from the 47-48 season. Took a sample of 4 episodes. Look, sounds pretty good. So we will definitely go ahead with that one. I've still got to check several more series. There are quite a few Holmes ones to go through. Make sure that we bring you good and quality shows and don't get stuck with something. For those of you who are in the Boise area, and I know there's a few of you, you can come out and meet me. I'm actually more shy in person, just warning you. I will be speaking to the local mystery writers group, Partners in Crime. The date is Tuesday, June the 1st. The time is 7 o'clock. And the location is a great spot for writers in Boise. The rediscovered bookshop, still at its old location at the 79 Overland Road in Boise, and that's on Tuesday, June the 1st at 7 o'clock. And it is open to the public. All right, well, we're going to get into today's show. But before we do, I want to remind you about Netflix. I've told you that Netflix gives you a fantastic opportunity to be able to watch the movies you want to watch, to be able to watch, as well as any TV shows, regardless of the age, particularly the classic shows, the old movies, all available to you right from your Netflix menu. The nice thing is that you can actually take a 2-week free test drive. Find out how good unlimited movies can be. Go to greatdetectives.net, click on the Netflix link to begin your 2-week free trial. But let's go ahead and we'll get into today's episode of Sherlock Holmes. It's Murder in Moonlight, here on the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio.
This episode from the life of Sherlock Holmes will be transmitted to our men and women overseas by shortwave and through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Petri Wine brings you Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce in the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes. The Petri family, the family that took time to bring you good wine, invite you to listen to Dr. Watson tell us another exciting adventure he shared with his old friend, that master detective, Sherlock Holmes. So let's settle back comfortably and listen, and while you're getting settled, I'd like to know if you like seafood. And by seafood, I mean everything from broiled lobster to fried halibut. Because if you like seafood, any seafood, you'll love it together with Petri California Sauterne. Fish and Petri Sauterne were made for each other. No kidding. Boy, I'll never in my life forget a broiled brook trout on the plate in front of me and a glass of well-chilled Petri Sauterne right next to it. That fish and that Sauterne. Petri Sauterne has a pale golden color that's really good to look at. And as for taste, well, that Petri flavor is really something. Take my word for it and try it, won't you? Oh, and I'll tell you something else. Try that Petri Sauterne with chicken sometime. Look, I better stop before I get hungry all over again, but just remember this. The best friend a good meal ever had is a glass of Petri wine. And now let's keep our appointment with the good Dr. Watson. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, Mr. Bartell. Come over here and join me by the fire.
I didn't think it was cold enough for a fire tonight, Doctor.
Oh, I suppose it isn't really, but there was one late, so I just couldn't resist putting a match to it.
Fire's a good accompaniment to storytelling anyway.
Yes, my boy, a fire and a glass of port. Care to join me in one?
Thanks, Doctor. So, you're going to tell us a sea story tonight?
Yes, Mr. Bartell. The whole adventure took place aboard a small steamer as it plowed through the stormy seas of the Indian Ocean. Here's your glass, my boy.
Thanks. And what were you and the great Sherlock Holmes doing on the Indian Ocean, may I ask?
We're on our way to Calcutta to solve the case of the vanishing elephant of Parbhuti-Pur.
Oh, yes, the story you told us a few weeks ago.
That's quite right, my boy. It's in the summer of 1894 that we left Liverpool aboard the steamship Lucifer. wasn't a large ship, and as both the Mediterranean and the Red Sea proved somewhat, shall we say, unfriendly, I may tell you the first part of the voyage was quite unpleasant. In fact, until we left Aden, I'd spent most of the time in my cabin. I'm not much of a sailor, you know. However, as we headed eastward towards Colombo, the weather cleared up a bit, and I came on deck and joined Holmes. I remember on the second night out of Aden, we paced the decks together. The stars above us twinkled, the promise of a bright tomorrow, and the faint tinkle of a piano being played in the passenger lounge formed a perfect setting for an evening stroll. It only seems like yesterday that Holmes said...
Watson, it's good to see you on your feet again.
Yes, it's good to be on 'em, Holmes. It's been a miserable trip for me so far.
The captain told me tonight that we can expect good weather between here and Caravati, our next port of call.
I thought Colombo was the next stop. And where is Caravati, whatever you call it? Anyway, I never heard of the place.
It's a tiny island in the Indian Ocean. It's a British protectorate. Those are the only facts I was able to glean from the encyclopedia in the ship's library.
Did you ask the captain why we're stopping there?
No, I didn't. As we're traveling incognito, I felt it wiser not to ask too many questions.
I find this incognito business something of a strain. Every time a steward calls me Mr. Hamish, I can't think who on earth he's talking to.
Whereas I find myself answering to Mr. Mycroft almost automatically. By the way, old chap, now that you're going to mix with the ship's passengers, I suggest that you adopt a Scotch accent. It would seem more appropriate for a Mr. Hamish, and I don't want anyone aboard to suspect our true identities.
I'll do my best, but I must say, Holmes, I think you're being unnecessarily mysterious.
Possibly I've been influenced by reading too many of your rather florid stories of our adventures together.
My stories are not florid. They're all perfectly true.
Oh, don't be angry with me, old chap. Don't be angry, please. By the way, you'll be interested to know that I've unearthed a little mystery aboard this boat.
I trust you to do that. Where is she? I mean, what is it?
Oh, you observed that suite of cabins on the bridge deck above us?
Yeah? What about them?
Well, I've been watching them during my nightly strolls for the past 2 weeks. The suite is occupied, and yet the blinds are never raised. And I've never seen meals taken in there. I presume, therefore, that it must contain a private galley and a cook.
I don't see anything mysterious about that. It's probably occupied by some wealthy invalid.
Oh, possibly. Another interesting fact is that the occupants are not entered on the ship's passenger list.
It all sounds very mysterious. There's probably a perfectly simple explanation for it. In any case, you must save your energies for the problem that awaits us in India. You're Mr. Mycroft now, remember that.
I will, Mr. Hamish.
Mr. Mycroft?
Yes, Mr. Hamish?
Would you care to join me for a wee drop of brandy in the smoking room?
Mr. Hamish, I shall be delighted.
This is excellent brandy. Excellent.
Watson, you noticed that rather garrulous gentleman over there in the corner?
You mean the one at the table with the Oriental-looking fella?
Yes, the talkative man is the ship's doctor, but I haven't seen the other gentleman before on this voyage.
I wonder if he's an occupant of the mysterious suite on the bridge deck.
Let's go over and talk to him, shall we? And remember the accent, Mr. Hamish.
And so, Verda, when we landed at Colombo, I decided to take Mrs. Abbott for a moonlight rickshaw drive through the cinnamon gardens. Did you gentlemen want to see me?
If you'll excuse us, Dr. Harris, my friend Mr. Hamish and I were having a little argument, and we thought that perhaps you might be able to settle it for us.
An argument? Oh, I love a good argument. Sit down, gentlemen. This is Mr. Verda.
How do you do, gentlemen?
Good evening, sir. My name is Hamish, and this is my friend, Mr. Mycroft.
I'm so happy to meet you, gentlemen.
Now, how do you know, Mr. Verda?
Now, gentlemen, tell me what you're arguing about.
Well,
I'll have
Doctor,
a good argument.
You see, it wasn't exactly an argument. My friend Mr. Hamish insists that the Suez Canal was built by a Dutchman in 1870. I'm convinced that it was built by de Lesseps, a Frenchman, in 1869. We thought you'd know.
You flatter me. I'm only a ship's doctor, not an historian. Ask Verdi. He probably knows.
Can you settle the question for us, sir?
I can, Mr. Mycroft. You are almost correct. The canal was opened in 1869, though its construction began 10 years previously. De Lesseps, a French engineer, was in charge of the operation. There is a statue of him in Port Said Harbor, built to commemorate his skill and enterprise.
Oh, much obliged to you, Mr. Vera. Hamish, I think that I win my bet.
Mycroft, I'm afraid you do, if you're sure of your facts, Mr. Vera.
I'm sufficiently sure of them, Mr. Hamish. to venture a small wager myself.
No. I think I'll not make any more bets on the subject, thank you.
Well, gentlemen, if you will excuse me, I shall return to my cabin now.
Oh, don't go. No, don't go, sir. You'll make us feel as if we'd driven you away.
Oh, not at all, Mr. Hamish. I enjoyed meeting you both, but I have some letters to write. Good evening, gentlemen.
He's a charming person.
Charming and extremely knowledgeable.
Bit of a bore, if you ask me. You two fellas enjoyed your trip?
I'm just beginning to. It takes a little time to get my sea legs, you know.
Dr. Harris, how long have you been on this ship?
4 years. This is my 23rd trip east on the Lucifer. Why?
Well, there's something that puzzles me on board this ship. I'm assured that you would explain it to me.
And what is it?
Well, the suite of cabins on the bridge deck. Who occupies them?
Wouldn't you like to know?
I don't know we would, and that's why my friend asked you.
Well, I'll tell you. Though it's supposed to be a secret. But there'll be no harm in telling you now, for we're dropping anchor off the island of Cavarati in the morning. In that suite of rooms is the Rani of Cavarati herself. She has her own staff of servants and everything. What do you think of that?
Oh, how very interesting. And is the Oriental gentleman who left the table when we arrived part of our entourage?
He is, sir. He's the sort of Prime Minister of Cavarati. This whole trip of theirs is very hush-hush. Rani returning to her country, afraid someone might make an attack on her life. Have to keep it all hush-hush. Cavarati is an island that's had a lot of trouble.
You seem to be remarkably well informed about the place, sir.
Yeah, I should be. I used to practice there in my younger days.
Well, really, how very interesting.
Yes, I could tell you strange tales about the island. I remember... Oh, hello. See that fella coming into the lounge?
You mean the big man with the grey hair?
Yes. That's Sir Christopher Wyatt. Owns all the tea plantations on Cavarati. He's a dull fella, but I'll call him over. Wyatt, come over and join us. Be careful. You'll talk your head off if you give him half a chance. Draw up a chair, Wyatt. We were just talking about Cavarati.
It seems to me that would be a good subject to keep away from. At least till after tomorrow, Harris.
What do you mean?
You know perfectly well what I mean. I should have thought that after your own experience on Cavarati, you would have learned a little discretion.
You're talking like a schoolmaster, Wyatt. Why don't you just sit down, have a drink, and be friendly?
Thank you. I prefer my own company.
Pompous ass.
You and Sir Christopher don't seem on the best of terms, Doctor.
I know too much about him. He's afraid of me. That's what he is.
Look at this girl coming into the room. Great Scott, she's good looking.
Judging by our Oriental costume, she must be a member of the Rani's retinue.
She's coming to our table. Yes, my dear. What is it?
Which of you gentlemen is Mr. Mycroft, please?
I am.
My mistress sends her compliments and asks that you will call on her in her suite.
And who is your mistress, may I ask?
Her Highness, the Rani of Cavarati.
Oh, I shall be delighted. Please tell the Rani that I shall pay my respects without delay. We will join her in a few minutes.
Very well, Mr. Mycroft.
You know, Holmes, this is pretty exciting. The girl that just brought us the message was a stunning creature. Imagine what the Rani herself must be like.
Oh, what an incurable romanticist you are, Watson. I suppose you picture the Rani clad in Oriental splendor, reclining like an odalisque on silken cushions.
No, there's no need to make fun of me, old fellow.
Here we are, Captain.
Ah, it is you, gentlemen. Follow me, please.
Come in.
Her Highness, the Rani of Cavarati.
All right, Regina, you can off it.
Yes, Your Highness.
Well, me lads, don't look so startled. Come in and sit down.
Your Highness,
What's the matter? What's the matter? Don't I fit into your picture of a Rani? What did you expect? A slant-eyed beauty with a veil and big hips? Well, I've got the big hips, all right.
Your Highness...
never mind, Your Highness. Sit yourselves down and talk free and easy like. I may as well begin by telling you that I know who you both are. Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson.
Dear me.
I've seen you in the good old days in London, you know.
May I ask if our visit is purely a social one, or are you in need of professional advice?
Oh, a little of both, Mr. Holmes, a little of both. And we'll start off with being social. Ruma.
Mem Sahib.
Champagne.
Botachi, Mem Sahib.
If you'll pardon my asking you, madam, but I've never seen you before, have I?
Oh, that's a question I'm always having to answer.
Yes, you probably have, Dr. Watson. You see, I was in the chorus at Daly's Theatre in London for quite a few years, until the Raja of Cavarati decided I'd look better on his island than I did in front of the footlights.
Your husband, the Raja, is dead, isn't he?
Yes, he was killed playing polo.
Champagne, ma'am, side.
Colo. Champagne for the sector.
Acha.
He doesn't speak English, so I'll get along with telling you my troubles. Mr. Holmes, somebody's trying to kill me.
Kill you? Good Scott.
May I ask what reason you have for saying that, madam?
You may, Mr. Holmes. Before I left England, I had threatening letters warning me that if I ever went back to Cavarati, I'd never get to the island alive. I got another letter in Port Said that said the same thing.
You kept these letters, I trust?
No, I didn't. I tore them up. I never did pay attention to letters that weren't signed.
Oh, that's a great pity, madam. Those letters might have been invaluable.
Well, it's too late to think about that now, Dr. Watson. Here's what's on my mind. I land at Cavarati in the morning, and if anyone's up to a bit of no good, tonight's their last chance.
You destroyed the threatening letters, madam, thereby indicating that you did not believe in the threats, and yet you now appear to feel that you are in danger. I wonder what made you change your mind.
The Ace of Spades.
Yes? I don't understand you, madam.
In the last 2 days, every time I tell my fortune, I get the Ace of Spades. Now, you know what that means. Death.
Oh, come now, madam. If you'll pardon my saying so, that's a very childish superstition.
Well, the cards have never lied to me yet. Oh, you can laugh at it if you like, but I know.
Well, you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Anything you like, Mr. Holmes. Fire away.
How long is it since you were in Cavarati?
About 18 months. We were in England when my husband died, and I couldn't face the idea of going back to that island alone. 3 months ago, Verda... Oh, he's the chief minister of Cavarati.
Yes, madam. We met him for a moment in the lounge.
Oh, well, Verda came over to England to persuade me it was my duty as the Ronnie to go back.
I see. As far as you know, have you any enemies among the passengers on board the ship?
Oh, that's an odd one to answer, Mr. Holmes. But I can tell you right here in my suite there's someone who doesn't like me. That girl, Raduna, the one that brought you my message. She was in love with the Roger herself. I know she hates me, even though she did stay with me in England after my husband died.
How about Ferda, your minister?
Oh, he's all right. My husband thought the world of him, and he's been wonderful to me.
He came from Cavarati recently, you say, to persuade you to return there.
That's right, Mr. Holmes. Well, Brumer seems to be all right after drinking that champagne, so it'll be safe for us to have some now. Champagne omlog kedo?
Botache, ma'am, side.
Oh, I've been burning with curiosity to know why you gave him a glass of champagne a few minutes ago, and yet we didn't have any.
Well, surely that's obvious, Watson. Fulmer is the official poison taster, isn't he, madam?
That's right, Mr. Holmes. He tastes everything I eat or drink before I do. And if it doesn't affect him, then I know it's safe. Berta brought him over to England when he came to fetch me. On the island of Cavarati, poisoning's quite an hobby, you know.
There were 2 people in the smoking room tonight who seemed to know quite a lot about your island. The ship's doctor, a rather garrulous gentleman by the name of Harris, and Sir Christopher Wyatt, who owns tea plantations on the island. Do you know either of them, madam?
I should say I do, both of them. Dr. Harris isn't any good. He was on the island for a bit, but he got into some kind of trouble, and my husband had him thrown out.
And how about Sir Christopher Wyatt?
Oh, Chris is all right. I saw quite a bit of him in London after my husband's death. As a matter of fact, well, if I weren't going back to Cavarati, I don't think he'd be on the boat at all. He hasn't been there for over 5 years, ever since he had a row with my husband over the wages he paid the native labor.
It seemed to me that several people aboard this boat have a personal interest in the island of Cavarati. Interests that might be influenced by your death.
Yes, just what I was going to say, madam. I think we should keep an eye on you.
Oh, that's just what I was hoping you'd say, Doctor. You see, I'm giving a bit of a supper party tonight. All the people we've been talking about have been invited. And I thought if you two were to be here, perhaps you'd be on the lookout for any funny business. How about it?
Well, of course we'll come, won't we, Holmes?
I think it might be a good idea, though I would suggest that we retain our incognitos as Mr. Hamish and Mr. Mycroft.
Well, whatever you say, Mr. Holmes. And now, let's have that champagne.
You know, Holmes, I remember the Raleigh when she was in the chorus at Daly's. She looked stunning in tights. There was one night I...
Yes, no time, old chap, if you don't mind. At the moment, there's a question I want to ask you.
Oh, sir?
Is your medical bag fully equipped with all the antidotes to poison?
Poison? That's ridiculous. How could the Rani be poisoned when she has a poison taster?
My dear Watson, you mustn't...
What the blazes is that?
Come on, Watson. That cry came from the companionway.
There are two figures struggling by the rail there.
Good heavens! One of them has pushed the other down the companionway.
Good Lord. His skull smashed in. I'm afraid that he...
What's happened?
Sir Christopher Wyatt. What are you doing here?
I was taking a stroll. I heard a yell from this direction and came here as fast as I could. Great Scott, this fellow's bleeding badly. We must get the ship's doctor at once.
That's hardly necessary, I fear, Sir Christopher.
What do you mean?
In the first place, this man is dead. In the second place, he is the ship's doctor.
We'll hear the rest of Dr. Watson's story in just a second, so I'm just going to ask you to do one thing for me. Well, I should say for yourself. Tomorrow night, if you're having meat or any meat dish for dinner, why not open up a bottle of Petri California Burgundy? That wonderful, rich, red Petri Burgundy will turn your dinner into a real feast. You see if it doesn't. Because there's nothing like a good wine with good food. And I know your family gets good food, and I know that Petri Burgundy is a good wine. In fact, it's a perfect mealtime wine. Try it and see. And now, Dr. Watson, tell us what happened next. You said you found the ship's doctor dead at the foot of the companionway?
Yes, Mr. Bartell. His neck had been broken instantly.
Imagine there was a good deal of excitement aboard.
No, my boy, as a matter of fact, there wasn't. We managed to get the body back to its cabin without attracting attention. Holmes, after revealing his true identity, was able to persuade the captain to hush up the killing until after the Rani's party had taken place.
Oh, he didn't want to scare the murderer, I guess. What happened next, Doctor?
Holmes and I returned to our cabin to dress for the party. Holmes, I remember, was in a state of suppressed excitement. He spoke quietly and deliberately.
Watson, surely it's obvious why the doctor was murdered?
Well, it isn't obvious to me.
It's elementary, my dear fellow. If you are planning a subtle murder by poison, how wise to remove the one man who might save the victim's life, a doctor.
Oh, you keep harping on poisoning. It seems to me that it would be the last way a murderer would try to dispose of the Rani. Everything she touches is first tested by the poison tester.
Exactly. That's why I call it a subtle murder attempt. Didn't you notice the physical attributes of Frumer, the poison tester?
Which in particular,
Well,
Holmes?
his unusually glossy hair, his remarkably clear complexion, his plump figure. Look here. Just tell me one thing, will you?
What's that?
I presume that in your medical bag you have a supply of magnesia.
Naturally.
Do you also have hydrated ferric oxide?
Yes, I do.
Splendid. Let's be off to the party.
Oh, funny things to take to a party, I must say.
That's true, my dear fellow, but I'm afraid that this party may not prove as convivial as the Rani thinks.
Holmes, it's nearly 1 in the morning. Everything seems to be going splendidly.
It seems to be, Watson, but keep your eyes on the Rani.
Yes, I have been. The poison testers tested everything that passed her lips. Dot and Doris to you, Sir Christopher. You having a good time?
Yes, indeed, thank you, Mr. Hamish. How about you, Mr. Mycroft?
Oh, the Rani's a perfect hostess. Who could help having a good time?
I don't think that girl, Regina, should be here, though. I don't want to be pompous, but after all, she's only a glorified servant.
Oh, possibly the laws of etiquette are not so strict in Cavarati as they are in London, Sir Christopher.
Oh, perhaps you're right. But I don't trust the girl. There's something shifty about her. I've told the Rani more than once. Oh, well, I suppose it's none of my business. I think I'll try and persuade the Rani to sing us one of her old songs.
He doesn't trust Raduna, and I don't trust him. I don't think it was an accident that we found him near the body of Dr. Harris.
Here comes Vera.
I trust you gentlemen are enjoying yourselves.
Very much, Mr. Vera, thank you. I imagine you must be excited at the prospect of returning to Calavati.
I am, Mr. Mycroft. Though I only left it 3 months ago, it has seemed more like 3 years.
Do you ken what time we'll arrive there?
I am told that we shall be there in 5 hours, Mr. Hamish.
Oh, look. The Rani's at the piano. She must be going to give us a tune.
Yes. Let's move a little closer, shall we?
Chris here has asked me to sing something. Yeah, my voice isn't what it used to be, and don't I know it. But me spirit's the same, and that's enough to put a number over. So, hold tight, boys. Here we go. My sweetheart's the man in the moon. I'm going to marry him soon. 'Twould fill me with bliss just to give him one kiss, but I know that a dozen I never would miss. I'll go up in a great big...
Great Scott, she...
Quick, Watson, your medical bag. I'll lock the door.
Right, your Holmes.
Bring some water, please.
Help me. Oh, please, help me.
What is the matter?
Don't be frightened, madam. I'll take care of you.
Thirsty. Give me water. Oh, such pain.
All the symptoms of arsenic poisoning. Now I know why Holmes asked me if I had any magnesia and ferric oxide.
Do something for me, Doctor. I'm dying.
Don't worry, Your Highness. You're not going to die. She's going to live, Holmes. Ah, gracious me, I'm tired. It's touch and go there for a while, though.
Well done, Watson, old chap. Well done.
Now that she's out of danger, why can't we all go back to our cabins? It's nearly dawn, and we've been locked in here since 1 o'clock. We've no right to do this, you know.
Possibly not, Sir Christopher, but there's a murderer in this cabin, and I don't intend to let him escape.
Mr. Holmes, what happened? How could I have been poisoned when Frumer tasted everything first? Why wasn't he poisoned?
For a very simple reason, Your Highness. The murderer has been conditioning Frumer for over a year.
What do you mean?
He's been feeding him gradually increasing doses of arsenic until he has finally become immune to the poison.
Great Scott, I never thought of that.
Frumer's glossy hair, his complexion, and stout figure are all typical of a person who consumes arsenic regularly.
But who could have done it?
Only one person had the opportunity.
Well, tell us who that person is.
No, not you, Sir Christopher, not you. For you haven't been on the island for years, whereas Frumer returned from Caravati but 3 months ago. Raduna has also been in London with her mistress for the past 18 months, remember? The answer is obvious.
You did it, Verda. You brought the taster over when you came to fetch me. You'd prepared him for the year beforehand.
Of course I did. No white runner will ever rule over Cavarati.
And you murdered Dr. Harris.
Equally true. Mr. Holmes, give me the key to the door, please. Oh, no.
What?
Do not come near me. Please throw it on the floor. Do not hesitate. You see this revolver? I should have no compunction in using it, I assure you.
How do you expect to escape, Yoda?
The key, please. Thank you.
You'll never get away with this, Verda, you devil.
But I shall. We are now in the harbor of Cavarati. I shall swim ashore and arrange your welcome, my dear Rane. Turn your backs, please. Turn them. Thank you. Goodbye.
He's gone.
Come on, Watson. After him. You have your revolver, Watson?
Yes, but I didn't get a chance to draw it. He had me covered.
Well, draw it now, old fellow. Aim for a leg or an arm, and don't hesitate to shoot.
There he is, up by the lifeboat. He's climbing up on the rail.
Where is he? Where did he go?
Up there on the rail above us, madam. He's going to dive.
Give me that revolver, Dr. Watson, quick. That's it. Come down off there, Verda.
Hold. Madeline, keep out of my affairs.
There he goes. He's dived.
Madam, you shot to kill.
Of course I did, Mr. Holmes. Remember that we're now in Cavarati waters, and that though I may not look like it at the moment, I am still the Ronnie of Cavarati.
Say, that was a swell story, Doctor. It had a lot of color and quite a bit of action.
Color and a bit of action. Well, I'm glad you liked it, my boy.
Oh, I did. Say, that's not a bad idea. I mean, having someone taste everything before you eat it.
Oh, it's a very old idea, very old. Very common, too, years ago.
You know the kind of job I'd like?
No, what's that?
I'd like to be the official taster for the Petrie family. Boy, just think of all the Petrie wine I'd get to taste. Petrie to the right of me, Petrie to the left of me. What a life. What wine?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having that job myself.
You said it. The Petrie family, really knows how to make good wine. They've been making wine for generations. And because they've always owned and operated their own business ever since it was started way back in the 1800s, well, the Petrie family has sure piled up plenty of skill and experience. Yes, they've been handing down in the family from father to son, the fine art of turning luscious grapes into delicious wine. That's why you can't go wrong with any Petrie wine. It must be good, because Petrie took time to bring you good wine. Well, Doctor, what new story do you have lined up for us next week?
Next week, Mr. Bartell, I'm going to tell you an adventure that Sherlock Holmes and I had many years ago. It concerns a series of bonfires, an underground cellar full of gunpowder, and a strange death on the rooftops of London.
Tonight's Sherlock Holmes adventure is written by Dennis Green and Anthony Boucher and was suggested by an incident in the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle story, The Adventure of the Mazarin Stone. Mr. Rathbone appears through the courtesy of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer and Mr. Bruce through the courtesy of Universal Pictures, where they are now starring in the Sherlock Holmes series. The Petrie Wine Company of San Francisco, California, invites you to tune in again next week, same time, same station. This is Harry Bartell saying goodnight for the Petrie family. Sherlock Holmes comes to you from our Hollywood studio. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. You know, I have to ask a question. It bothered me since the beginning of the show, but who names their boat Lucifer? If for no reason, I could just imagine, a bunch of people, walking around. Hey, want to book a trip on the Lucifer? I don't think so. It was also kind of fun to hear Nigel Bruce do a Scottish accent. And as much as we talk about Basil Rathbone being a great actor, it's not like that Nigel Bruce had only one trick either. He had a lot of other roles outside Dr. Watson. They're just not as well remembered. All right, well, a few quick comments here. Rick emails in from Glen Carbon, Illinois. I love the shows, all of them. You had a very enjoyable and interesting, most of the time, commentary that helps to bring them to life. Recently, it sounds as if there's a reverb or something added to the audio feed, which really makes it hard to listen. Well, I will forward this on to Andrew, my audio guy. Sorry if you're having any difficulties. Haven't heard about audio problems for a while. Finally, Kim catches an error. Just listen to the episode, Jeff Regan, The Lady with No Name. In your discussion about Paris Mason, you named the author as Eric Stanley Gardner. I have several of the books on my shelf. His name is Earl Stanley Gardner. Just thought you'd like to know. Thanks. I found out sometime after I'd already uploaded the file. And you are, of course, correct. And I used the right name on Tuesday's show. So thanks for keeping me honest. Well, we've got several comments that will be coming up after the show, including 2 voicemails, which is really nice because I believe we've had 2 voicemails in the life of the show, and I don't think we've had one in about a month, so that'll be fun. Also, I did find some information on Johnny Dollar history that I can go ahead and change. I told you there was a missing episode called Mind in the Shadows that aired between the Paracop policy and the slow boat from China under Charles Russell. Well, old-time radio researchers has concluded that there was no such episode as Mind in the Shadows as an episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. It was actually a special on mental health hosted by Eddie Albert that has somehow worked its way into Johnny Dollar episode logs as a lost episode. So that means that were actually only 33 episodes of yours truly, Johnny Dollar with Charles Russell, of which 8 are missing. All right, well, we're going to get into the show in just a second. Before we do, I want to remind you to take advantage of the great deals available to you at JohnnyDollarAir.com. JohnnyDollarAir.com is Priceline, and you can name your own price on hotels, rental cars, airline tickets, and even more by searching JohnnyDollarAir.com first. And right now, if you book a name your own price rental car reservation up until 24 hours before up to 24 hours before the pickup time, you find a better publicly available price on another website for the same rental car, brand, car class, pickup and drop-off location, and pickup and drop-off dates. You just call Priceline, and if you qualify, they'll refund 100% of the difference between the two prices, and they'll give you an additional $20 refund on your credit card. In addition, for customers with U.S. billing addresses, they'll give you a coupon for $50 off your next purchase of a 2-night or longer Priceline vacation package. Now, that's a big deal. So go to JohnnyDollarAir.com or click the link we've got up at GreatDetectives.net. The offer expires next week on Wednesday, June 2nd. Now, speaking of Charles Russell, as we were before the commercial, I do want to. This episode is going to be familiar to those who have listened and have a pretty long memory. It'll sound somewhat familiar. This was actually the third Charles Russell episode, but the script's changed slightly, and it's being performed by Edmund O'Brien. So let's go ahead and we'll take a listen to Bodyguard to the late Robert Perry.
Time now for Edmund O'Brien as
Johnny Dollar.
Dollar, thank goodness I found you.
Why, what's up?
You've got to leave for New York, Dollar, immediately. A policyholder, he's afraid for his life.
Here we go again. Who's he afraid of?
Well, he wouldn't say over the telephone. All I know is, to us, he's worth $100,000 alive.
Well, that makes it simple. He must be afraid of somebody to whom he's worth $100,000 dead.
Edmund O'Brien in a transcribed adventure of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Home Office, American Continental Life Insurance Company, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of my expenditures fulfilling your assignment as a bodyguard. The body being that of your late policyholder, Robert W. Perry. Expense account. Item 1, fare on night train, Hartford to New York, $3.65. Expense account item 2, $1.80 taxi to Lower Manhattan, following morning, to offices Perry and Van Bruten, importers, arriving as promised at exactly 9 a.m.
Good morning. May I help you?
Yes, you certainly can. My name is Johnny Dollar. I have an appointment with Mr. Perry for 9 o'clock.
Oh, yes. From the insurance company. Well, you're right on time.
Yes, they told me I'd better be, and I'm glad that I am.
Mr. Perry just came in. He's alone and waiting for you. I'll buzz him that you're here.
Thanks. What was left of your policyholder, Mr. Perry, was just sliding out of the swivel chair as I hit the room. The top of his desk had erupted, and splinters of mahogany pointed their sharp fingers upward through lazy circles of smoke swirling toward the ceiling. The buzzer from his secretary's desk had been rigged to a booby trap.
Oh, no. Mr. Perry.
Stay away from him. Come on, there's nothing you can do. He's dead.
Oh. What happened? What happened? Whatever happened?
Let's go. Let's get back out of here. Here you are. Sit down. I'll get you a drink of water. Come on, drink this.
There's a doctor on the third floor. Shall I call him?
Never mind the doctor. Go call the police. Nobody gets in here till they arrive. Now, the rest of you, go on, run along, beat it, will you? And have the building superintendent turn off that alarm. Okay, miss. Now take it easy.
It was all so sudden. What happened?
Well, that's not hard to figure out. Somebody wanted to give your boss, Mr. Perry, a shortcut through life. So whoever it was figured out that a secretary would never buzz a boss unless he was at his desk. They rigged up a bomb somewhere in his desk that would go off when you buzzed him.
Oh, then I killed him.
No, wait a minute, will you? Wait a minute. Don't go hysterical on me. There's excitement enough, and there'll be more when the police get here, so you keep cool.
But I did it. You saw me do it.
Look, honey, the way you put it, I killed him by coming in here and giving you my name so you would buzz him. And I was here to protect him. So drop it, will you?
I'm sorry.
Now tell me, what about yesterday? Was Perry here?
Yes, all day.
What time was it when you last used the buzzer?
Why, right up to the last minute, about 5:30.
Who left the office first?
Oh, Mr. Perry always leaves first. I lock up.
Uh-huh. From the looks of things, you should have used more locks last night. Somebody got in here to do some wiring. Oh, I forgot that fire alarm. Look, before the police arrived, do you know why I was sent here?
Oh, yes. Mr. Perry felt that his life was in danger. He thought that, well, with a $100,000 policy, the insurance company would do everything they could to help keep him alive.
Oh, he didn't have much of a chance, did we? What was he afraid of?
I don't know.
Okay. Tell me, what were his other appointments for today?
Well, he only had two. His partner, Mr. Van Bruten, at 11, and later he had
one at a time, please. Van Bruten. Anything special about their meeting?
Oh, yes, Mr. Van Bruten arrived just yesterday from Holland.
Oh, you mean there was a branch of this firm in Holland?
Oh,
huh?
yes. Mr. Perry was buying out Van Bruten's interest. They had a final meeting at Van Bruten's hotel last night.
I see.
Van Bruten was coming by this morning to pick up his money.
Cash?
No, a cashier's check. The bank is to deliver it here at 10:30.
Well, Perry's other appointment, who is that?
Christine, his wife.
Now she tells me. Christine, the beneficiary.
Yes, she wouldn't have been the beneficiary in about another 2 weeks. They were getting a divorce.
Thanks for the motive. You don't like her.
Well, I didn't mean it that way.
Well, how about Perry? Did you like him? Okay, here's an easy one. What's your name?
Susan Gates. Now, isn't that about enough?
Okay, Susan, you better save your voice. During the next few hours, you're going to have to do a lot of talking.
I've been everywhere else. Is the fire in here?
Well, you'll have to stick around. When the cops get here, somebody will get burned. The firemen should have stuck around because the cops arrived in a blaze of glory. It was a very high-class investigation, 2 lieutenants. Finally, after about an hour, the police photographer ran out of flash bulbs, the office of the deceased ran out of fingerprints, and the lieutenants ran out of questions. So the on-the-scene phase of the investigation was closed. At about 5 minutes of 11, I left the police packing up their notebooks, their clues, and the body, and went into the outer office. Susan looked like she could use a big, broad shoulder to weep on. But unfortunately, I was wearing my light gray suit. About then, a dark blue suit and a deep green voice entered the room from the corridor.
There. There's a fellow out here says he belongs here. His name is Van Bruten.
What do you think? His name is on the door you just opened.
Oh. Well, now, my name happens to be Murphy. And it's on bids all over the country. But that don't mean I'm stuffed with feathers, does it?
Well, never crossed tongues with an Irishman. All right, send him in, officer.
All right, you can go in.
There's a policeman out there. There's trouble here? I am Bramer van Bruten. There's Mr. Perry.
What?
He is waiting for me, no?
No.
But my appointment...
He's not keeping any. He's dead.
Dead? This is not possible. Last night I saw him. He was well. What happened?
He was hit by a buzz bomb.
A buzz bomb?
Oh, please.
You mean that there was foul play?
Yes, it was very foul.
Oh, please. I may sit down. My first visit in all these years since before the war. It was to be so happy. But now tragedy like this. He was a good man, a good partner.
I understand that as of last night, you were no longer partners.
Yeah. I am glad you mentioned that. I realize, of course, that it is indelicate to speak of such things as money at a time like this, but that is why I am here, to receive my payment.
Just because Perry got his, there's no reason for you not getting yours, huh?
Oh, but you misunderstand me. I am deeply grieved, but, well, since the transaction was consummated, what is there to do? A delay would be a needless waste of money. I have already paid for passage back to Antwerp tomorrow.
Your check is here, Mr. Van Bruggen.
Oh.
Here you are.
Thank you. In all of my years of business, this is indeed the saddest moment.
Yeah. Well, if I didn't have some work to do, I'd sit down with you, and we'd all have a good cry. Expense account item 3, 90 cents. Phone call to the home office.
Mr. Gordon's office.
Look, honey, this is Johnny Dollar. I want to speak to Mr. Gordon. While I'm telling him what I've got to tell him, maybe you'd better sit there in his lap with some smelling salts.
I'm not that type of a secretary. Besides, he doesn't have a lap.
Hello, Dollar. How are you making out?
Out? About $100,000.
What's that?
Yeah. You know, you should have sent me earlier. Somebody turned Mr. Perry into a firecracker just after I got here. He's dead.
Oh, that's bad news. Big policy.
Yeah, what I want to know is, shall I stay on the case?
Well, certainly, Dollar, by all means. Is there a chance of proving suicide? There's a non-payment clause.
Yeah, to make this one a suicide, there'd have to be a Santa Claus. Nobody could hate himself enough to do it this way.
What are the fraud possibilities?
Fair, there's an estranged wife. She's the beneficiary, but she wouldn't have been in a couple of weeks. Divorce coming up. I'll start with her.
All right, Dollar. Good luck. But watch those expenses.
Why, Gordon, I'm surprised. I think an insurance man would be the first to want to see a fellow live a little. Christine Perry's apartment was on Sutton Place overlooking the East River. I took the elevator up to the 24th floor, and there I discovered that our garden-fresh widow was living high in more ways than one. Everything about the place was French. The maid who led me into the living room through a long foyer, the decor, and the perfume which reminded you that breathing can be fun. I looked up from enjoying my nose to see Mrs. Perry looking down hers.
Mr. Dollar?
Mrs. Perry.
I believe we can dispense with the social amenities. You're an insurance investigator, interested in the death of my husband. So naturally, you're here because you've jumped to the conclusion that I killed him.
You're the one that's jumping to conclusions, lady. And careful you don't break your leg.
What do you want? The policy's in order. Premiums are fully paid.
You know, I'm not quite sure what I want. I know that you've got a great motive. So far, the only motive I've found.
You haven't had much time to look, have you?
Check. This is my first stop. Maybe you can help me. Do you know anyone who would be happier with your husband out of the way?
I know very little about my husband's friends. For that matter, his activities for the past 6 months. That's when I left him.
Well, that's not much help for either of us. You know, without someone else to suspect, I may just have to concentrate on you.
Mr. Dollar, I picked the men I want to concentrate on me.
I hope you're as long on alibis as you are short on temper. Where were you last night?
With a friend, Al Donovan. For a while, the same place my husband was. And I have witnesses to prove who was with him.
Anybody at the Clover Club can tell you.
Saves me a trip. I can't afford the prices they get over there.
Certainly. A pleasure. My husband was with his beautiful little secretary, Susan Gates.
Well, I wouldn't be more surprised if your late husband walked through that door and said...
All right, mister, that's enough.
Hal!
Yeah.
How much did you hear?
I'm a big guy, baby, 6'4". I've got big ears to match.
Al, please.
Would this be Mr. Donovan, your companion of last evening?
I'm getting you out of here, Christine.
Al, you don't know what you're saying.
You lie to me. How can I help you if you lie to me? You call me stupid. The way you're playing this, you'll alibi yourself right into a cell. Now, I'm getting you out of here.
What are you doing to me, Al? You're crazy.
Come on.
She's right. You are stupid, Donovan. She was doing just fine till you dropped in.
Mister, you've been asking a lot of questions. Now I'm going to give you one answer. All right, Christine. So much for the wise guy. Now about you and your alibi. You wasn't with me at the Clover Club last night. And if it's so easy to prove that your husband was there with his secretary, who were you there with? Remember, baby, you told me you were going to be with your husband.
When Al measured me for that swing, I measured my chances with him. To me, he looked like one of those corporate assets of Murder Incorporated. So I rolled with the punch and kept my eyes closed and ears open. What I heard was Christine's alibi flying out the window, Mr. Donovan giving her a few loving cuffs, and finally, the pair of them flying out the door. Just then, the noon whistle blew somewhere in New York, and I decided to allow myself the luxury of 1 full minute for lunch.
We'll return to the second act of Johnny Dollar. But first... And now we return to the second act of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Edmund O'Brien.
I spent the minute I took out for lunch eating a handful of Mrs. Perry's bonbons on the run. I hit the street just in time to see Donovan pushing Christine Perry into a cream-colored convertible. When they got rolling, I piled into an even yellower vehicle with a meter on it and started off crosstown playing tag through traffic. At 57th and Broadway, things got complicated. My cab was 3 cars behind them when a red light flashed them to a stop. Then the door of their car flew open, Christine dashed out across the street, and melted into the river of humanity flowing down into the subway. Since Al Donovan didn't follow her, I followed him. When he finally pulled to a stop, he took 2 chances. He parked in a no-parking zone and walked straight into the building beside it, a police station.
Mr. Dollar, Lieutenant. He's been waiting for you.
Well? My name is Johnny Dollar, Lieutenant. Here are my credentials.
The insurance, huh?
Yeah, the Perry murder in particular.
You've come to the right place, Dollar. A man named Donovan just walked in here and made a full confession.
He what?
That's right. My clerk's just typing it up. In the meantime, the gentleman is down in the tank having a bite of lunch on the city.
He confessed. Well, does his story add up?
As far as I know. I haven't heard too much about the case myself. Not in my precinct.
Yeah, but what did he use for a motive?
Jealousy. Says he's in love. Wanted to marry Perry's wife.
Did he say how he managed it?
Yeah, he stole a key to the office from the wife's apartment. Entered the building last night and wired the bomb to the buzzer system.
Well, I guess guys do a lot of strange things in the name of love.
It looks like Donovan did.
Yeah, he either killed the man or he's trying to cover up for someone who did. Say, Lieutenant, don't execute him for a couple of days, will you? I spent the rest of the afternoon downtown in the offices of Perry and Van Bruten, importers. The partners' correspondents told me 2 things. They had been extremely friendly, and Van Bruten was extremely bald. Perry had been sending him toupees from a famous Hollywood makeup firm. At 4:30, I got to the employment files, which rocked me with 2 minor explosions of their own. First, I learned that Al Donovan had been employed over a period of years as Perry's bodyguard, and that he had been canned the day before the murder. That confession of his, which had been a little hard to swallow, was suddenly more digestible. On top of this came blast number 2. The employment application of Perry's secretary, Miss Susan Gates, informed me that during the war, she had worked in a munitions plant. Her specialty? Wiring bomb fuses. When Miss Susan Gates reached home at 8:30, she found a visitor. Me.
How did you get in here?
Professional secret.
Oh, it scared me. What do you want? Why did you come here this way?
I wanted to bring you the good news. I heard on the radio that Al Donovan confessed to Perry's murder.
Al? I can't believe it.
Why not? Who do you like for the spot?
Why, Christine. Al is covering up for her.
Well, I'd like to agree with you. If it turns out that Christine wound up her husband's life with a bang, the company that hired me saves $100,000. But I don't know. She claims she has all kinds of alibis. One of them is you.
Me?
Yeah. Did you see her at the Clover Club last night?
Well, yes,
Yeah. I know who you were with. Your boss.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No. I'm not preaching a sermon. I want to know who she was with.
I don't know. A man I'd never seen before. Mr. Perry knew him, but he wouldn't tell me who he was.
Why not?
I don't know. He said I might get the wrong idea.
About what?
I don't know. We didn't sit there and talk about it all night, so why should we sit here and talk about it all night?
All right. Good heavens, when a census taker shows up and asks a lot of questions, people answer them. When an investigator tries to do his job, they make the proverbial clam look like a blabbermouth.
Look, Mr. Dollar, believe me. This has been a greater shock to me than to anyone else.
Yes, excepting, of course, your late employer, Mr. Perry. How long did you work for him?
4 years.
Where'd you work before then?
Well, I worked...
Let me help you. Bombs. Huh? Wiring fuses. Remember?
All right. I remember.
Good. Maybe you'll remember a little more. Let's go back to last night. The guy with Christine Perry, who was he?
I tell you, I don't know.
Was it Van Bruten?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
I'll get that.
No, I'll go.
Just make sure you don't keep going. Susan! When Susan snapped the spring lock to open the door, the gun outside opened up. The first slug caught her in the left shoulder, spinning her out of the way of the rest of them. It was getting monotonous. Every time a buzzer went off, things started booming. Susan was sprawled out on the floor in front of the door, and to open it, I had to move her. By the time I did, the hallway outside was empty. Okay, now, take it easy. Come on. Won't start hurting for a couple of minutes. We'll have a doctor here by then. He'll give you something. Please, try to keep calm. Here, what? I'll throw my coat over here. Now, try not to move.
You're going to ruin this rug.
Never mind the rug. What we want to worry about is who tried to ruin you.
What'll they do to me?
What'll who do to you?
They'll arrest me.
They don't arrest people for getting shot. You have any idea who it was?
That man in the office this morning. The one who picked up the check.
Van Bruten?
No, he wasn't Van Bruten.
He was a phony?
Yeah.
And you still gave him that check?
Yes.
Well, I won't ask you why. You gave him that check and then tried to blackmail him. Is that right?
They'll arrest me.
I wouldn't be surprised. Who is this guy? Where can I find him? Come on, don't pass out on me now. His name, quick, come on.
Ben Sam.
Where's he live?
Marsden Hotel.
Under his own name?
No, I don't...
I don't blame you. I could use a few moments of unconsciousness myself. The Marsden Hotel didn't have a Dutch name on the register, so I got a hold of the housekeeper and found out how many rooms her staff hadn't been able to make up all day because of no disturb signs on their doors, and then I went a-calling at those particular rooms. On the 9th floor, I wakened one old maid. On the 7th, I startled a bunch of poker players who thought they were being raided. And on the 4th, I struck the door of 427 and the jackpot.
Who's there? Don't you see the sign? I do not wish to be disturbed.
Sorry, I must have the wrong room. I started up the hall after the fire axe. When I got to it, I changed my mind. Out of the few things I learned about this guy, Van Sant, was that he loved to shoot people through doors. So I decided against trying to chop his down. Then I remembered the way those people came pouring out of those offices earlier in the day when they heard that fire alarm. So I picked up the little red hammer next to the big red fire axe, broke the little glass window, pulled the little brass hook, and set off a big brassy noise. And then I rushed back to 427. Fire! Fire! Hey, fire! Fire! There's the fire. Right here in my eyes, sweetheart.
Why you come here, you wish you don't?
Never mind the dresser. You're through shooting guns. What do you think, Van Sant? You want to try some more?
You cannot make me stay here. The fire, we will all die.
You'll look good barbecued, but I'll make a deal with you. You talk, and if I like what I hear, I'll show you how to get out of here alive.
How I know this?
You don't think I'm going to stay here and fry, do you? And if you don't start flapping that tongue in a hurry, I'll probably just tie you to a chair and run. So first, where is the real Van Bruten?
You will find him in the bedroom.
Yeah? He'd better be alive. He's out cold. What's the matter with him?
He will be all right. He's under sedatives.
Where did this identity switch start? Come on, hurry up, talk. I smell smoke.
I knew Van Bruten from Antwerp. I know about the sale of his interests. I know the girl in the office here had never seen Van Bruten. Look, we go now.
Don't get up. Come on, keep talking. I can feel it getting warm in here.
The firefighters. We will be safe.
Don't be too sure. They always start at the top floor and work their way down. Come on, I can hear those flames crackling.
You know the rest. Last night, when the transaction was all finished with Perry, I gave to Van Bruten some sedative in his cocoa.
So you set up that bomb so Perry would get it before you showed up to pick up the check, huh?
Yeah, I told you that. How the girl knows I am an imposter, I don't know.
Well, let me tell you. She's been sending old Van Bruten toupees for the last 4 years. Gray ones, my red-headed friend.
Sure. I can stand up now. We go out from here, no? We go out from here, no?
Yes, out cold. Expense account, item 4, $1.40. Night letter informing you that American Continental would have to meet payment of claim to Mrs. Christine Perry, innocent widow of the insured. The only thing she was guilty of was trying to stay on the right side of a hot-tempered boyfriend. She lied about who she was with at the Clover Club, not to fix herself an alibi, but to keep Al Donovan from learning that she'd been out with another man. That man being the real Mr. Van Bruten, who had only taken her out to try to talk her into reconciling with his friend, her husband. Expense account item 5, $100. Fine for turning in a false alarm, which, since you're paying it with me, is just fine. Expense account total, $463. Yours, truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, stars Edmund O'Brien in the title role and is written by Paul Dudley and Gil Dowd, with music composed and conducted by Leith Stevens. Featured in our cast were Walter Burke, Gene Bates, Joe Duvall, Ted DeCorsia, Joyce McCluskey, and Raymond Burr. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is produced and directed by Jaime Del Valle. Beginning next week, we are moving to a new time and day, and we hope you'll join us on Tuesday evenings when Edmund O'Brien returns in another transcribed adventure of
yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
You, Mrs. Bloom, Molly Goldberg's famous invitation to fun in the Bronx now echoes across the country each Saturday night on CBS. It's the same fine brand of comedy mixed with a tear now and then that's made Molly and her whole family, Jake, Sammy, Rosalie, and the others, favorites for many years. CBS invites you to hear the Goldbergs on most of these same CBS stations this Saturday and every Saturday. This is Roy Rowan speaking. Disaster is no respecter of persons, and it can strike any time. But your Red Cross never sleeps. It has to be ready constantly in case of an emergency. This is your protection. Keep it strong. Now is the time to support Red Cross for your sake. Remember, for every dollar you gave before, this year add a quarter more. If you gave Red Cross $10 last year, this year give it $12.50. Give gladly. Join Red Cross. This is CBS, where yours truly, Johnny Dollar, meets adventure next Tuesday night, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. Well, they changed the ending a little bit for O'Brien, and in a way that was much more logical, because in both versions, Dollar pulled the fire alarm and put the fine on the expense account. However, in the Russell version, he was all upset about the fine when he wasn't going to have to actually pay it. And they made a few other changes here, as happened when Gil Dowd adapted the Milton Brooks III storyline from Dick Powell to Charles Russell. I don't think they did enough changes here. There were a few points where O'Brien just felt awkward reading the line, you could tell. Like, I'm saying this? But the one thing that really stood out to me was the scene where he was ordering everybody to stay out of the office until the police arrived. His voice was so much more authoritative than Russell's, so you really took that charge seriously. All right, now we turn to listener comments and feedback. We begin with a voicemail from New York, and we'll go ahead and take a listen.
Hey, I was calling to take the listener's survey. I think you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much. I'm glad you're enjoying the program. All right, and we also have we read an email a little critical of my voice, and we're going to go ahead and we got a voicemail here. We'll play that, and we have a few other comments.
Hey, Adam, this is Paul. I had a quick comment, too. The woman who commented on your episode 144, talking about chalk on a blackboard. All I can say is pot, kettle, kettle, pot. She needs to listen to her own voice. Your voice, yeah, we can all have a better voice, I think, but we all say that. I just want to say keep your comments as long as you want. I enjoy them. I'm sure everybody else does. She needs to listen to this series from the beginning to really appreciate what you have done and the comments you give us. Thanks again, Adam. I'm going to keep voting for this and Dragnet all the time. Thanks. Bye.
Well, thanks for calling in, and I appreciate you listening. Penny emailed in the same vein and said, your commentary about the detective stories is great and helps me appreciate and enjoy the programs. Thanks. The complaint from the lady that said your voice is awful and should be replaced so she can skip it is misinformed. Your voice is fun and reminds me of actor Walter Brennan of Old Westerns. Take care and look forward to programming. Well, thank you. And Alistair comments, Adam, I listen to your show every day while I'm at the gym. You've got a fan from Australia. Love the special profile on the old writer the other week. That sort of human interest angle was excellent. Must admit I had a giggle at the message the lady left dissing your show that day. I found her accent much harder to understand than yours. Keep up the good work, Adam. Best wishes, Alistair. Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate the comments. Thank you so much for the supportive comments and feedbacks. I really appreciate and help encourage me in continuing to do the program. All right, well, we're going to wrap up the show. Got a comment, email me, box13@greatdetectives.net. Cast your vote for the show on Podcast Alley, podcastalley.greatdetectives.net. And you too can leave a voicemail. Call 208-991-4783. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.